Hey guys, this is Camfrey15. I'm back at it with another video for you guys, and I'm back with another NFL video. Obviously, just like last year, I am back talking really entirety of the NFL because I barely talk about it because I mostly talk about Bears. But I am here joined by my two co-hosts, my friend Matt, and then my uncle Daryl. Obviously, if you remember Uncle Daryl from if you watch my Bears content from the last Bears season recap, and even last year for the draft, entire first round recap from last year's draft, is joining for this video. And my friend Matt, who I knew from college, is joining us. And it's been a while since he's been on the channel. The last video I remember was like XFL videos.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's been like a year since then. So he hasn't been on the channel for a while. But like I said, what we're doing here today is we're going to go through each of the 32 picks in the first round and talk about how we like those picks, how we don't like the picks, which I think is probably like 3 or 2 picks that I didn't like coming out of this draft. But we're gonna talk about how they affect each team's futures. Will it be a bust for the team? We'll just have to find out. And then 2, for Chicago Bear fans, if you want to get my internal thoughts as well as my uncle's thoughts on each and every of the Bears picks this draft after draft is over, we'll be back. I think the draft ends on Sunday or Monday.
Sunday. Yeah, Sunday.
Okay, then we'll probably be back following that Monday. Hopefully I'm good, so because I have finals weeks this week for school. So then expect the Bears video covering everything regarding the Bears draft picks. But anyways, let's get started. And obviously, let's get started with the first overall pick of the draft. And I think it's a no-brainer that Jacksonville Jaguars, they tanked all last year to get the pick who they wanted, and that is Trevor Lawrence, the first pick of the overall draft, quarterback from Clemson. Obviously, we all knew that it was going to be Trevor Lawrence at the number 1 pick, because unless the Jaguars are going to be absolutely idiotic not to take him.
That would have been the biggest curveball in NFL history.
Yeah, that would have been – Urban Meyer would have gotten fired before he even coached the game.
Yep. Trevor Lawrence, obviously one of the best at the time, one of the best high school prospects. And then even, when he came in at Clemson as a freshman, taking over like mid-season for Kelly Bryant, who stuck up the joint essentially there at Clemson, essentially thrusted Clemson back into the championship after Deshaun Watson left.
Okay, and, yeah, whatever. He beat Alabama, so what? As always, roll tide.
Yeah, after doing that, he went to 2 national championships, won one and then lost one, obviously, to the LSU. But obviously, this guy, he was already projected to be number 1, and really it was between him and Fields of who would be number 1. But it was a no-doubter that Trevor Lawrence was number 1, and obviously, who cannot say they don't like this pick? The only way this pick doesn't work out is if Trevor Lawrence just turns into a massive bust. He's definitely got the smarts, the IQ. I think Urban Meyer is definitely going to help him. And even Urban Meyer said there's no guarantee that Trevor Lawrence is going to be starting week 1. So, well, I don't know who their backup quarterback is, but okay.
I think it's Glennon right now.
Glennon's not. I don't even think Glennon's on a team.
Oh, maybe not. I know him and Jake Luton started for them a little bit last year. So.
Yeah, Mike Glennon started, I think, the last couple of games for Jacksonville last year. I haven't looked at the depth chart, but Urban Meyer would be just an utter idiot not to put this kid out there. You're not really going to win anything anyway, so might as well get this kid some reps, get him some experience, so then that way he, just like all the other great quarterbacks before him, Peyton Manning started his rookie year. Granted, he almost threw 30 interceptions, but at the same time, we all know what kind of quarterback Peyton Manning became. So John Elway, he started out early with his first year too, and as a matter of fact, his bonehead moment of his rookie year, he got behind the wrong guy at center. So, they're gonna make mistakes. That's why you put them in so they can learn from the mistakes, and then they become the quarterbacks we all know they're gonna become anyway. Trevor's going to be great. Put him in there. Don't worry about trying to find some backup veteran. Just put the guy up in there and let him sink or swim.
Yeah, I'm big on like sitting rookie quarterbacks for a year, but he's a guy where there's no need to sit him. There's no need to sit Trevor Lawrence. There's no need at all to sit him. He's not a guy you just sit. You pick him first pick overall for a reason.
He's predestined to be the guy in Jacksonville. Everybody knew it. That's why Jacksonville tanked to get the guy. Why tank to get the guy if you're gonna sit him the first year? Man, put that kid up in there and let him, just like the Bengals did with Burrow. Put him up in there and let him learn.
Yep.
100%, yep.
Again, he's got very high IQ. He rarely, and in his college career, very rarely threw any interceptions. It started to really start to happen a little bit in his in the last year at Clemson. But, you know, the whole thing there is I think this pick is going to definitely help the Jaguars in the long run. Obviously, they're going to have to build around him, and they started building around him with the later pick they got in this draft with Travis Etienne. We'll talk about that later. But Trevor Lawrence, even though he is morely a pocket passer, he can use his legs to get out of some, things like we saw a few times in Clemson. He can use his legs. But we probably advise him not to probably take the most hits because even though he is a very tough kid and he can take some hits, definitely if he's going to be doing that running around stuff, he probably should keep that to a minimum, do the sliding routine. In my opinion, I feel like he definitely needs to kind of bulk up a bit. But other than that, I'm sold on this pick.
100% sold.
Yeah, me too. 100%.
Yeah.
Okay. I think everybody came to a unanimous decision there. So next up, the number 2 pick. At the time they had the number 1 pick, then they ended up, I think, beating the Rams to get the number 2 pick. And that is the New York Football Jets. And they ended up drafting, which at first at the time, way back in college football season, it looked like it was going to be Justin Fields with the number 2 pick. But Zach Wilson, quarterback from BYU, ends up being the 2nd overall pick. Now, I've heard some people are sold on this. Some people aren't as sold. For me, I'm kind of in the middle. It's one of those things where I feel like it's a high risk and high reward at the same time. Because you don't know if this guy will pan out to be the franchise quarterback. Because if we look at last year's schedule, really the only toughest opponent they faced was Coastal Carolina, which they ended up losing that game.
It was a great game. If anyone got to see it too, it was an amazing game.
And it probably would have maybe been Utah if the Pac-12 had gotten in on the action earlier in the college football season. But he's definitely got the arm strength. He's definitely got the arm talent. The one thing you do have to worry about, which is the same thing when Taysom Hill was at BYU, I believe, was the injury concerns because the dude was out a long time with the injuries. And obviously later the Jets got a pretty good lineman. But definitely it's something where it's like it's a gamble. And after they traded Sam Darnold, just like Trevor Lawrence, he's going to be starting from day one. It's an all right pick with me. We'll find out if it will work out in the long run. But I can understand people's questioning of if this isn't going to work out. Some people brought in his character issues could be a thing. It depends. We'll see what the Jets do. Will the Jets mess it up this time, or will they actually hit a home run with this?
Well, yeah, it was 50-50 with me as well, too. Justin Fields was pretty much the standard at the number 2 prior to the end of the college football season. And Wilson kind of snuck up in there. I believe he sat out all of 2019 with a shoulder injury, which made his scouting a little bit more difficult to do. There wasn't much tape on him, and he did ball out. Granted, albeit the talent that he played against wasn't as great as, let's just say, Fields or even Lawrence. But his talent, his tape, as far as his talent is concerned, it showed a lot. But again, I just didn't see really anything from where I was sitting that would have made me say, oh, I just got to draft that guy over Justin Fields. So I'm 50-50 with it. It's New York, so maybe they were looking for someone a little bit more, flashy and someone with a little bit more substance that they felt can deal with the New York media. I don't know, but he seems to be that kind of flamboyant type kid that I think that'll draw some type of ink on the back page of the newspaper. So, but the kid does have talent. But we'll see, and we'll see what type of pieces that the Jets put around him. I think they changed their management, their GM, as well as they got Coach Saleh from the 49ers to be their head coach. So I thought that was a great signing. So we'll see how this new rookie head coach can deal with this flamboyant, outspoken quarterback.
Yeah, a lot of rookie quarterbacks, it's really about the organization you're drafted into. That has a lot to play with how you pan out. But I watched a lot of Zach Wilson, and I think he's an amazing player. And just like the talent he played against wasn't maybe up to his standard. That's also the talent he played with. Probably wasn't up to the standard of the NFL talent. So, like you said, we'll see. I've said this since like you said, end of the college football season. My big five for the quarterbacks was Lawrence, Wilson, Fields, Mac Jones, and then Trey Lance. So, but it is, like I said, we're going to see how it pans out. And I think he could be good, but it's also about all the pieces he puts around him. They put around him. And so.
Now, I will say, in Wilson's defense, hey, you don't get to choose who you play. You really don't. You don't get to choose who you play. I mean, I think it was, Bill Russell that said something along the lines, hey, the games are scheduled. You might as well play them. And if you got to play them, you might as well win them. He didn't care.
Yeah.
It don't matter who's on the schedule. You got to beat them anyway. And
100%,
Wilson did that. So we'll just have to see, given the experience he had at the college level, see if he can do it at the NFL level.
Yeah, he's definitely going to have to get some offensive weapons around him because, to be honest, I don't know any of the Jets running backs are their receivers at all. He has no help at all on offense. So the Jets are going to have to definitely use the later rounds to get some talent around him to at least be competent.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you guys think they'll play him he'll be a day one starter in New York, or do you think they're going to sit him a little bit?
I think it depends on who his backup is.
Yeah, I don't know who they have as a backup right now. Like I said, I do believe in a lot of the time sitting rookie quarterbacks at first. Main reason is seeing how Patrick Mahomes panned out. But, you need a very good veteran quarterback with good character that, knows, he's molding this guy into being something and not really competing with him. So.
Yeah. Me personally, I think the same thing with him that with Lawrence. Man, just throw the kid out there.
Yeah.
Just make sure you build that offensive line, though, and come up with a scheme that don't have this guy running for his life.
Yeah. And Zach Wilson is a pretty mobile quarterback. But again, that injury concern could come back up and maybe bite the Jets in the butt. So we'll have to find out.
Yeah.
So obviously, after the first two picks, obviously the third pick in the draft was probably the most interesting pick because
this is where the curveball happened.
Yeah. Essentially, this was really when the draft started, when essentially there could be things that could just happen and anything at this point happens. And the 49ers leading up to the draft looked like they were going to take Mac Jones.
Let me interrupt you for a second. Let me interrupt you for a second since you done mentioned Mac Jones. I knew the minute that they did that, they were bluffing. I knew it. Now, granted, I don't know how many Alabama football fans you know, but I'm a big one. I really am. I'm a huge one. And I really like Mac Jones. But when you compare him to the other four quarterbacks, you had your list. I had Mac Jones number 5 on that list. He is the least mobile, and his arm strength, his arm strength is not as great when you compare him to the other four quarterbacks. So I always thought the 49ers were bluffing. For what reason? I have no idea. Maybe they actually, I think they wanted Lance or Fields all along, and something happened at the last minute that made them pick one or the other. But when they said that, I knew they were bluffing. They need a quarterback. I'm sorry, Matt. They need
No, you're good.
Yeah, they needed a quarterback not like the one that they already had, which is Garoppolo. And of those 5 quarterbacks, the one that was like Garoppolo was Mac Jones. They needed a quarterback that can get out, that can get out in space when things break down. The last 2 Super Bowls that they went to, it was Colin Kaepernick. That guy could do both. He could throw and get out in the pocket. That's the kind of quarterback that I think that they were looking for. He was not looking for a pocket passer. He wanted someone opposite of Garoppolo. So when I heard Mac Jones, I knew he was bluffing. And after that, when he picked Trey Lance, and I knew that's what you were going to say, when he picked Trey Lance, I knew Mac Jones was going to fall probably to the not exactly where he fell, but I kind of felt that he was going to fall far enough for the Bears to be willing to either move up to get him or just draft him at 20.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like I said, I think certain quarterbacks, like I think Trey Lance works out better with the 49ers than necessarily Mac Jones would, but I think maybe Mac Jones works better with the Patriots than Trey Lance would. But I don't know how you just can't pick Justin Fields here. I don't know. Justin Fields was the surefire pick for me here. I don't know how you cannot draft him for the 49ers here. I don't
understand it either. Now, I will say this. There was a report that came out a few weeks ago about him and epilepsy. Well, I have it, and I played sports in high school. I played a little bit later on after high school. So, and it didn't bother me a second. So it just amazes me that a report like that would come out. Not only for this guy to drop, but he lost, quite a bit of money with that drop from 2 to 3 down to 11, and I know we're going to talk about that later. But that was an amazing thing that actually came out, and he was pretty ticked about it too, falling that far. As you can actually tell after he was eventually drafted, he was pretty ticked, and that report really did him some damage financially.
Yeah, I think him being ticked will probably benefit him and the Bears in the future, honestly. Like, it just, with the epilepsy thing, he played at one of the highest levels of college football, and he won. He won. So that's my biggest thing. Like, when Deshaun Watson was in the draft, like, my biggest thing is always he's a winner. He won at the highest level. Like, that's the biggest thing. Justin Fields.
All you got to do, look at the tape. The tape is pretty much the tape tells everything.
You got to be a winner as a quarterback. He's a winner.
Free draft camp. You can do your workouts, but in the end, that tape is the ultimate equalizer. And Justin Fields' tape was fantastic.
Yeah. Like I said, we'll get to that pick when it comes. But yes, the 49ers definitely were in a thing. And to me, from the outside, it looked like, well, John Lynch wanted Trey Lance, and then you had Kyle Shanahan who wanted Mac Jones. But again, it could have been a bluff to throw things in the draft to where teams might reschedule some things. But I feel like definitely this could have been rescheduling, because it seemed like leading up to the draft, the 49ers are just going to straight out take Mac Jones and move on from that and stuff like that. But the 49ers, I guess you can say, flipped the switch and made, I guess, other teams like, okay, things are different now than what we thought were going to be. And they end up taking Trey Lance, quarterback out of North Dakota State University, the same college Carson Wentz went to. And another big thing is he's thrown the fewest pass attempts in college football. Like, he has like 318, and it's compared to like Michael Vick, and I forgot who the other guy was. But they put that stat during the draft. But I feel like he's in the right place. This is definitely a pick destined where he's put in a probably perfect scenario location right there. Jimmy Garoppolo's there to essentially be the bridge quarterback. And whenever Lance is ready to take the reins, he'll more than likely come in the following year, and we'll see what he can give us. I feel like the same thing with Wilson. It's a high risk, high reward, because he's had those few attempts in college. And you got to hope that this kid pans out and he learns the system, and he's just an automatic hit from the moment go. So they're definitely doing the Mahomes thing. And again, we're seeing the whole thing where more mobile quarterbacks who can run and pass are starting to get more value than, say, a pocket passer, aka which was Matt Jones this draft. So obviously, this is a smart pick. And Kyle Shanahan, the last few teams he's coached with in the Super Bowl, Matt Ryan and Jimmy Garoppolo, they were both immobile quarterbacks. They couldn't move. So when they needed to play extended in those Super Bowls, it never happened. And two, not running the ball didn't help at all either. But
more so Shanahan's questionable play calling towards the end of those games.
Which is a Patriots fan I love, but
well, yeah, I'm a big Tom Brady fan too. Cameron will tell you that as well. But in those games, we all know about the Patriots and the Falcons. He should have ran the ball. And we can debate that ad nauseum. Then against the when they were in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs?
Chiefs, yeah.
They had the lead.
Yes, they did.
Late in the game, and he dropped back 5 wide on first down. Garoppolo had missed a wide open receiver. I can't remember which down it was.
Sanders, yeah.
But he didn't run the ball. It's still the same thing. When you have the opportunity to run the ball to seal the game, Shanahan chose to do something different. And it failed him. So yeah, the quarterback, in my opinion, yeah, Garoppolo's he's not a great quarterback. He's an average quarterback. But the San Francisco 49ers are ready. They're Super Bowl bound. They're not bound. They're Super Bowl ready now. So I just don't think Trey Lance will get that much this time this year unless, the injuries do the same thing to them this upcoming season that they did last season. So if they're healthy, yeah, the 49ers are Super Bowl ready right now, which means Garoppolo will probably be playing.
A few things, I don't know if even Garoppolo wants to stay there necessarily, even though he is under contract at that point. I think Trey Lance was just a teenager a few days ago. I think he just turned 20, so he does need a few years to sit. I do believe he needs a few years to sit. And I believe I read a report that the 49ers didn't tell their coaching staff who they were picking until the pick came in, and that to me is very. You need everyone involved. I think you really do, especially the coaches and everything. And I don't know if that's necessarily who Kyle Shanahan wanted. Me and Cameron were talking after, and Kyle Shanahan looked pretty depressed. Yeah. Truthfully talking about it, yeah. John Lynch, he looked ecstatic, but Kyle Shanahan definitely looked a little bit. They kind of threw a curveball at him, I guess.
Rejected. Yeah. I saw it too.
And also, I will say this: in that same Super Bowl game, right before half, Kyle Shanahan didn't try to score before the half, and John Lynch really, particularly, was kind of shocked by that coaching. I mean, he was clear, and they actually showed him in the booth, wondering what the heck was Kyle Shanahan doing. So it could be some trust issue there as well too. So that's going to be an interesting situation to look forward to next season, maybe this season beyond. But if they don't win, I can honestly see John Lynch looking to probably make some moves and probably get Shanahan out of there. But they got to win. They got to win.
Yeah.
And I don't think Trey Lance isn't win. He's not going to be able to win now, so they're going to have to stick with Garoppolo. So.
Nope.
Yeah, Trey Lance essentially is what you would probably deem a prospect in the making right now. Yeah. Definitely going to have to sit a year, maybe 2, especially if Garoppolo, kills it and keeps the 49ers in playoff contention. But I like Lance. He's very big for his size. He's mobile, and they say he's got a pretty strong arm there. So, like the pick there. Definitely, hopefully for the 49er fans, it works out for them in the long run than, I guess, the short term, because if it doesn't work out for them, that could potentially maybe end Shanahan's job as
they'll be rebuilding. If they don't win, I think this year is Super Bowl or bust for the 49ers.
Mm-hmm. So next up in the fourth, the fourth pick of the draft is the Atlanta Falcons. Now, there were rumors that they might trade Julio Jones. I think that's asinine, honestly, and I think they should run it back maybe 1 or 2 more years. And if it doesn't work out then yeah, blow it all up and start and keep it with the young players. But this is one of the things where it's like, okay, would the Falcons take a quarterback? Would they take, obviously, Justin Fields? Or would they take maybe a defensive player? Or would they take, obviously, who they later selected, which was Kyle Pitts. Now, from my eyes, I'm like, well, if you're going to run it back and go completely offensive crazy, you got Julio Jones, you got Calvin Ridley. Maybe you go add another freaking deep threat that can essentially, because right now, other than the Buccaneers, second place for the NFC South is completely wide open, in my opinion. They took Kyle Pitts, tight end, wide receiver, whatever you want to call him, out of Florida, which was honestly the best college tight end last year. Definitely something you got to look at, where this guy is really freaking good. His yak is insane. And you can say, well, Kyle Trask made him, or he made Kyle Trask. It is what it is. But I think this freaking makes like the Falcons offense even more dangerous and much more hard to freaking cover, because not only you have Julio Jones, who's a tall talent, you got Calvin Ridley in the slot, and you got even another tall talent in Kyle Pitts, who, if you want to line him up on the line as a tight end, you can put him out in the freaking wide out and just line him up, match him up with a corner, and you could have double threats at whatever position, and Matt Ryan could have anybody he can throw to. And that just makes the Falcons a much more dangerous team on the offensive side of the ball. Obviously, they're going to have to pick up their game on defense if they're going to try to at least contend for a playoff spot. But they definitely, between the Saints and the Panthers, could contend for a wild card spot with that offense. But I definitely would give this whole thing a year or two. And if they're not doing anything, and if they're in the same position like they were the past couple of years since the Super Bowl they went to, I just say blow it all up, essentially. Well, get rid of Matt Ryan and Julio Jones. You can probably keep Calvin Ridley and Kyle Pitts.
Yeah. I was going to say that the Falcons drafted the best player available. I mean, and there are no defensive players that would have come that high. So they drafted the best player available, and Kyle Pitts was that guy. If they were fifth, they probably would have went with, again, the best player available. The only issue that I have with the Falcons is, speed on the outside. They got a lot of guys that can catch the ball between the numbers, but I don't believe that they have anyone that can truly stretch a defense to keep those safeties covered over the top. So Matt Ryan is on his, I think he's on his last couple of years as a quarterback. So this is another one of them situations, whereas they are, win now. But if they start losing, I can expect a fire sale if they're not successful this year. So that number 2 spot in the NFC South is attainable. Can they get it? I mean, we'll see. The offense is going to be nice, but do they have a slew of running backs that can, move the chains? And do they have a defense that can actually stop anybody? I mean, we'll see. But we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, like I think that if they went with a quarterback here, they would have traded Julio and Matt Ryan or everyone. But with Kyle Pitts, you definitely want to keep Julio and keep Matt Ryan and give it another year or two to give it a shot with Kyle Pitts, because like you said, hate bringing this thing up, but he kind of reminds you of like a Aaron Hernandez type player. Like he can play the outside, inside, slot. He's very athletic. He can play all over the field, so it definitely will help the Falcons out on offense. But again, like you said, do they have a running game and do they have a defense to help them out? So
yeah,
best player available. That's the only reason why they got him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anyways, moving on to the next pick, which was the Bengals pick, and it was interesting for the Bengals because definitely the whole thing was, are they going to get Jamar Chase? Or are they going to get an offensive line, especially an offensive line because of what happened to Burrow this past season? And the Bengals, with the 5th pick, ended up taking Jamar Chase, wide receiver out of LSU, who's played with Joe Burrow, so they have a relationship, they have a connection. I'm fine with the pick. I was also in the thing saying maybe I would have been fine if the Bengals had taken an offensive tackle, because there's pretty good offensive tackles in this draft. But I completely am fine with Jamar Chase. I think he might need to scale back on his little promise of breaking all the Bengals records because you're just coming into the league, my friend. So I don't think he'll be breaking every record the Bengals got, but he's very dynamic. He's very fast. I definitely think after the loss of AJ Green, it's going to help the Bengals in the passing game because they have some pretty solid receivers. But I see Jamar Chase as the years go by definitely being the #1 receiver in Cincinnati. And obviously, again, like I said, with Joe Burrow's connection, they already know each other. So it's only going to help Joe Burrow out. And the only other thing the Bengals really got to do is shore up that offensive line and maybe add some more defensive talent.
Well, I thought, excuse me, I thought they were going to go with Sewell. He was the best OT on the board because, Burrow couldn't stay he couldn't stay upright. So, I mean, when you have a really good quarterback, a franchise quarterback, I think your prime directive should be to protect him, get him a really good left tackle like, the majority of the great quarterbacks have had in the NFL over the years. So Jamar Chase was a good pick. I'm pretty sure it put a smile on Burrow's face because he's a college teammate. And the dude is ultra talented. They did lose AJ Green to the Arizona Cardinals, and that was probably a key, to go ahead and let's see if we can try to fill that slot. But yeah, I think ultimately, I think I'm 50-50 on it myself. Me personally, I would have went with a tackle. It was a great pick, but I would have went with a tackle.
Yeah, I would have gone Penei Sewell, especially after seeing Burrow get hurt last year. Especially, I think a big reason for it being Jamar Chase is being Burrow's teammate, and I think Burrow had a lot of input in that. And like you said, he has a connection with him already, and that's big. You don't need to develop a rapport with him, so that's going to be huge. But you got to protect Burrow, and I like you said, Jamar Chase is talented, but I still think I would go Sewell here if I was the Bengals. But Jamar Chase isn't a bad pick here, though. It isn't a bad pick. It wasn't the pick that I would have made personally.
Yeah, there's still a lot of talented offensive linemen that some teams can pick up in the second round.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Don't they have a high second round pick too?
I think it's Telvin Jenkins from Oklahoma State University, who's one of the best linemen.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure they'll address the position. They'd be foolish not to. And who knows, they may address it with 2 and 3 to come to think about it. Because again, your prime directive should be, when you have a great quarterback, is to make sure he stays upright and to protect him. So granted, Chase was a great pick, but I'm pretty sure that they'll address the position. But again, I still would have, went with an offensive tackle in that position.
So next up in the draft is the Miami Dolphins with the 6th pick. And they were one of the teams that were predicted or had a chance to maybe trade back, but they stayed put and they ended up selecting Alabama wide receiver Jalen Waddle. At the time, I was like, if they're going to take a Bama receiver, why not just take Smith? But I'm fine with Waddle too, because you can use him in a variety of ways. You can use him as your punt returner. People call him probably the next closest thing to Tyreek Hill. He's very fast. So I think this is only going to help Tua out in the pass game because, again, he's played with Tua already from this point on. And you can put him in so many ways. You can put him in kickoff, punt return. You can do much of everything. And I did like the fact that he seems like he's all business there. So he's definitely going to help out the Dolphins, definitely gives them a speedy threat out there and on the sticks. So I think Tua's going to like this and definitely is going to help them in the long run.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree. Although, again, like I say, roll tide. It was a great pick. And yeah, it will help Tua out, especially vertically. And I think that's the kind of football that Coach Rhodes want to play. But they really didn't have anyone that could stretch the field. And Jalen Waddle will definitely do that. They'll need to figure out ways to get him in space, whether it be jet sweeps and things of that nature. He'll definitely be in the special teams, so they'll get his feet wet there. Overall, it was a good pick, and it does help out your quarterback. Your quarterback does need weapons, and they do have a really good offensive line. So that pick was a no-brainer. It was a really good one, though.
Yeah, I agree. Like you said, they do have a offensive line where you, at this point, you can address that later if you really think you need to, with the line being as good as it is, and you need a speedster, I guess you could say, with Jalen Waddle. And like you said, just give him the ball in space and let him make plays. And he's, like Cameron said, he already played with Tua, so only going to help Tua out, only going to help the offense out. Just got to find a way to get him the ball.
That's right.
Yeah, I also believe maybe the reason why they didn't take Devontae Smith is also because Devontae Smith earlier before the draft said that he liked Jones throwing him the ball more than Tua, so that could have been a little thing maybe that turned the Dolphins off. But who knows why that could be the case. But we'll see how it goes for Jalen Waddle. I think it's going to be a hit for the Dolphins. So next up is the Detroit Lions with the 7th pick. And the only thing I remember from the Detroit Lions was that coach's press conference talking about how they're going to take kneecaps out and all this other BS they talking about over there. And I guess they are going to be taking out kneecaps because they got Penei Sewell, the offensive tackle from Oregon, which is very interesting pick. I thought, honestly, at the time, I was wondering, are they going to take a quarterback because they can't trust Jared Goff? But it seems like they're 100% in on Jared Goff, and by making this move, they're going to give him some more protection. Again, I don't know who he's going to be thrown to, but the Lions, it's a smart pick for the Lions. Sure up that offensive line, because the last few years, their offensive line has been, I would say, a solid one, but not the best offensive line, especially when in the NFC North, you have the D-line the Packers have, the D-line and the linebackers the Vikings have, and even with the Bears, with the D-line they have, you're going to need to shore up that offensive line so you're not having Jared Goff take unnecessary hits. And we all know that Jared Goff, he got hurt occasionally sometimes last year. So I don't mind the pick. I think it's a good pick for the Lions. They want to shore up their line. And I guess the next thing for them is just go get some weapons and some more defensive parts.
Yeah, well, for me, I thought they were going to go wide receiver. They just lost Kenny Golladay in free agency. So I thought they were going to go wide receiver. So I was thinking Devonta Smith here. So when they decided to go OT, and usually OT is the pick that the teams seem to make. That's always the smart pick. Yeah, I mean, you have to be able to win games at the line of scrimmage. I get it. But when you lose your number one talent at the wide receiver and you bring in a new quarterback, yeah, OT is one of the players that you look at. But I was really shocked that they didn't go get a wide receiver that can replace Golladay in that lineup. So now, granted, I was happy they did it. Because again, it's a divisional opponent. I mean, I don't think Sewell's gonna, matter that much in the scheme of things for the next football season. So, hey, but he'll be able to take out some kneecaps. So let's see how that goes.
Yeah, the Lions had a lot of positions to address. So, I mean, they could have gone a multitude positions here. Penei Sewell might be one of the best on the board, but Jared Goff, like you said, you can't really trust him you guys as Bears fans, me as Patriots fans, I think it helps both of us out. I mean, I like the pick for us, but Penei Sewell's a good player. It'll keep Jared Goff upright, but I mean, I don't really know if even Jared Goff upright's going to do good anyway. So,
yeah.
Yes, he's not the quarterback I think that he was projected to be.
Yeah, go Lions.
Especially he had Sean McVay as his coach, and now he's just
well, at least for Detroit sports, at least the Tigers look somewhat promising, but other than
that, bad for those fans.
Thank God I'm not a Detroit fan because they ain't got nothing since their last championship was the Pistons, I believe.
Yeah, 2007.
Or no,
earlier than that.
Celtics won in 08 actually, so maybe 07 actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
No, the Spurs won the title in 07.
Spurs
So
won in
08. Was it 06 then?
No, it was
Was it-
04.
Yeah,
04
I was gonna say it's the early 2000s.
when they beat the
Yeah,
Lakers.
so-
Yeah.
and the Red Wings, as an NHL fan myself, the Red Wings are terrible, so they aren't going to win that anytime soon either. So
Which is actually a shock because the Red Wings has always been, well, to my recollection, with Stevie Y up in there, handling his business. The Red Wings were always good. So I'm actually shocked that the
yeah,
Red
back
Wings,
in the day they were pretty good, but over the past, I'd say at least 5 to 7 years, they've been the bottom of the barrel in the NHL.
they've actually
So-
which is shocking, man. The one team I've always thought that Detroit could actually put together would be the Red Wings.
Yeah, they're definitely a hockey city. I feel like they're but
Yeah.
Now, next up is where I'm starting to get to the picks where it's like, okay, what are we doing here? And that is the 8th pick in the draft with the Panthers. And I'm looking at this, I'm like, okay, they got Sam Darnold, but I'm afraid that they still take Justin Fields regardless. And they don't end up doing it. Okay, I'm like, okay, maybe they take a wide receiver. They don't end up doing it. Offensive line? Nope. They take a defensive piece, J.C. Horn, cornerback out of South Carolina. Now, I know
that's Joe Horn's son. Remember
The
Joe
receiver?
Horn, wide receiver with the Saints, who pulled out the cell phone?
oh,
That's his kid.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
Yeah, that's his kid. And this kid Cam, this kid can play.
Mhm.
And this kid, think about Tre'Davious White with speed. And that's J.C. Horn. This kid can flat out play. So I thought that when they got Sam Darnold, I'm not shocked that they passed on these quarterbacks. I was more worried about the next pick, and we'll address that later. But J.C. Horn can flat out ball. This kid is the truth, and all they need to do now is put somebody on the other side of that defense that can probably play with him as cornerback.
Yeah, I know he was a very talented cornerback. I'm 50-50 on this. We'll see how it works out, but I know with obviously their head coach, he's gonna definitely be the rah-rah guy that's definitely would be his type of player.
Yeah, I thought they were going to go quarterback here because I don't think Sam Darnold's a franchise quarterback, but J.C. Horn is, like you said, the truth. He's the real deal. He's very, very talented. He's going to make plays, so it's a good piece for the defense.
Yeah.
And then Rivera is a good coach. I mean, I think the one thing that Darnold did not have when he was in New York was really good coaching. Ron Rivera is a really good NFL coach.
No, it's Matt Rule.
Matt Rule's their coach now. Yeah,
Matt Rule. That's right. Ron Rivera's in Washington. My bad. Well, actually, Matt Rule is an offensive coach as well too. So I'm pretty sure Rule can be able to do something with this kid. Darnold, give him a shot. And J.C. Horn is going to be a nice play in Carolina as well too.
Still young.
Yep.
So Darnold will give him a shot, but
Yeah.
Yep. And J.C. Horn is the day one starter.
Yes.
yes,
Yeah.
100% without a doubt.
Now we get to this pick, and this is one of my picks I don't like. Picks I'm scratching my head. And this, as a Bears fan, I was always scared of this pick when they came to happen. I'm like, the Broncos, John Elway cannot be stupid. He has not hit on quarterbacks at all, other than trade. He cannot be that stupid to tell me he's going to pass up on Justin Fields. They have to take him, even if they just traded for Teddy Bridgewater. Regardless, Drew Lock, it looks like he's going to be a complete bust. So if you take Justin Fields, maybe a 3-man battle for starting quarterback. And the Denver Broncos, at the 9th pick, took Patrick Surtain, cornerback out of Alabama. Now, nothing to take away from him. Patrick Surtain is a great player. He's a great player. I just don't think the Broncos needed to do something to improve their secondary, especially the fact that they recently got the Bears' former cornerback, Kyle Fuller, for free, essentially. So I don't know why they did that. This definitely has Vic Fangio written all over it. I don't know who's the opposing corner to outside of Kyle Fuller who's going to be for the Broncos. I know their slot
It's called
corner.
Patrick Surtain.
Yeah, yeah. Obviously, they're gonna. I guess I saw it to a point. They're gonna have to find some way within the division to lock up. Obviously, try to lock up the talent that the Chargers have at wide receiver, and the Chiefs. But I'm just over here just scratching my head. I'm like, how do they just not go quarterback here?
I'm a
Me personally.
you go keep going. Sorry.
No, go ahead, man. Go
I
ahead,
was just
man.
saying I think that I did like Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater both coming out of college, and they're still young, both of them. But I mean, with Bridgewater's injury, and then with Drew Lock, just he didn't do well last year at all. Honestly, I thought it was quarterback, and if not quarterback, I thought this was a possible trade down spot. But
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
I don't know if I would have necessarily got Surtain here if I was the Broncos.
Well, me personally, I honestly thought, and this is just me being just a conspiracy theorist when it comes to the NFL draft. Those rumors that Aaron Rodgers wants out of Green Bay, I honestly thought that the Broncos thought they actually had a shot at trading for this guy. I honestly thought that. To me, it just seemed just to be in the air that the Broncos had something in place to go get Aaron Rodgers. And when they passed on him and went with Surtain, and I'm glad they did because the kid can play. I mean, the kid can play Roll Tide. But I just honestly thought that, you know what? They got something in the works because I just know they don't believe they can go 16 games with Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock and make it.
You might believe he had some Peyton Manning type thing. Granted, Peyton Manning got released and he signed as a free agent. I mean, Green Bay's going to have to trade Aaron Rodgers. I don't see how they would, unless he simply refused to play. But they messed up when they drafted Jordan Love last year, and they didn't draft him any help this year so far. I mean,
yeah, we'll talk about the Packers.
But that's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking it was something along the lines because there was no way at that particular moment with Justin Fields still on the board that you don't draft him. And if you don't draft him, you must have a really good reason. Incompetency just can't be the reason why you just pass on this kid.
Yeah. And you should have traded back. You should have at least called the Bears, the Patriots, and been like, "Yeah, I'm about to draft a quarterback here. Like, you need a trade." Like, because you could have got Surtain, I think, a little bit later. I mean,
correct. And it was a race to that number 9 anyway between the Bears and the Patriots. I thought. I didn't think anyone else would have come up, but because both Fields and Jones were still on the board at the time, I honestly thought that it was a race to Fields and no one stepped up to try to take that pick from Denver.
Yeah.
I think they wanted to hold on to it. I think they wanted to hold on to it to get Rodgers.
Yeah.
That was my feeling.
Denver very well could make an offer to Green Bay, and maybe Green Bay takes it. Again, we'll talk about the Green Bay situation later in this video. Yeah. But it all comes down. I feel like the Broncos, they have a good shot. They're probably going to do everything within their money to try to get Aaron Rodgers to go there because for them, that's probably the most enticing move for them because it keeps them in that division. So anyways, next up with the 10th pick was the Dallas Cowboys. And from what I heard, the Dallas Cowboys did at first want, I think, Patrick Surtain, but because the Broncos took him, the Dallas Cowboys ended up trading to their NFC East rivals, the Eagles, and then the Eagles ended up getting the 10th pick. So essentially they flopped picks. The Cowboys will eventually pick at the 12th pick. But the Eagles ended up drafting, which honestly, everybody saw this coming even before everything happened, unless something crazy happened in the earlier rounds of the draft. It was kind of a done deal, and that's to give Jalen Hurts some help at the wide receiver position, especially with Alshon Jeffrey gone. Aguilar's been gone. Deshaun Jackson, I don't know what the hell's going on with him. Yeah, I think they released him because he's consistently getting hurt. And the one thing when Carson Wentz was there, they never had nobody to throw him the ball to. So they ended up taking, obviously, which is going to be their number one threat, deep threat, Devontae Smith, wide receiver out of Alabama. It's like I said earlier, this was honestly one of the draft picks like everybody knew if he was still available, the Eagles were going to go get him. And he's going to be very dynamic for them. I do think he could at least beef up a bit more. He is pretty skinny for what he looks like as a wide receiver. And the same thing, Deshaun Jackson was just as skinny, and just look at how frail his body is. Hopefully, Devontae Smith doesn't catch the wide receiver injury bug like the Eagles have, eventually to the point they're only relying on Greg Ward Jr. And hopefully this gives, obviously, Jalen Hurts a deep threat to pass it to. But for the Eagles, there's definitely a lot of work still left to be done. That defense got to improve. The offensive line, even though it's been injured, definitely could be better. This is just the start of what they might need to do to rebuild.
It confuses me that the Eagles would have gotten him anyway, even if they had stayed at number 11. So why trade up one spot to get a guy you would have eventually gotten anyway? And more so than that, why trade up one spot with your division rival? That was really confused. That was really confusing to me. I mean, Dallas wasn't going to go wide receiver at the number 10 pick. So, I mean, it was really confusing to me, but it did happen. Devonta Smith is an Eagle, like we all thought he was going to be, either Eagle or a Giant. So, it was just really confusing to me why they did. Well, was the Giants in number 11 and the Eagles traded up?
Giants were 11, Cowboys were 10.
That's why they did it. They thought the Giants were going to pick them up, so they traded up to 10 to come grab them. Okay, all right. I strike that statement. I'm sorry. So that makes sense. But at the same time, in talking about Devonta Smith and his weight, come on, man. Jalen Waddle was 180 pounds. And he got drafted number 6. And there was no talk about his weight and his height in relation to his weight prior to the draft. To me, this is just another one of them tools that a lot of teams like to use just so a player can drop down to the spot that they're trying to pick in, just so they can pick the guy. So throw out the whole crap about the weight. Oh, he's really skinny. No, we're not going to draft him. He'll get hurt, things of that nature. Then when he falls to you, hey, look, let's grab him. Let's pick him up. Well, we're not worried. We never were, and we were not worried about his weight whatsoever, even though they probably threw out the notion privately that 178 pounds, this kid is going to get hurt, and we're not going to draft him. So, but Devontae Smith is special. This kid is an encyclopedia of football knowledge. He gets in that game room, he gets in that film room, he studies, and he absolutely plays ball. So they got a good one. Problem is going to be Jalen Hurts because he can't throw.
My biggest thing is, as a rookie, is film work. You got to be committed in the film room and craft, and like you said, he has that. And being Greg Ward, he played quarterback at Houston in college, so I mean that was their biggest threat for the past 2 years. I feel like, granted, I'm not big on Carson Wentz. Jalen Hurts, I think he can be good with the correct pieces around him, and I think this is one of the pieces that definitely helps him out. Yeah. I do think that the Giants, they thought the Giants were going to get a receiver. That's why they did trade up. But I like Devontae Smith, and I think he can succeed with the Eagles.
No matter where he goes, he would have done well.
Yeah, he's a good character person, and that's big.
Yeah. Gives him a very speedy, dynamic threat there. Now, the 11th pick in the draft, which I'm already smiling about, obviously the Giants. So you were wondering, what will the Giants take here? At this point,
no, it's not quarterback. We knew that.
I didn't even know. I didn't know who the Giants would get. I don't know if they would have gotten a defensive piece, or maybe obviously an offensive piece to help out Daniel Jones. But what we actually do not, which we see very rarely, or if not at most, which most people said all over Twitter, is that Dave Gettleman did it. He traded back. And the Giants ended up getting a haul. They got ended up trading the pick to the Bears. So the Bears trade up. Now they're on the clock. And at this time, I'm like, okay, something's going on. Please work your magic, Bears. Please do it. And I'm crossing my fingers. Ryan, get it right.
Let me say one thing, Winfrey. Let me just say one thing. I have seen Cameron for 3 years watch every Bears game and struggle and be upset and mad and depressed. And I'm just gonna let both of you just have the floor for this one. I'm happy for you guys. Just feel it's a great pick, but I really am truthfully happy for you guys. I've seen you guys struggle, and I've seen Winfrey do it. I'm gonna let you guys have it on this one, all you guys.
Anyways, continuing my thing, the Bears, in order to trade the 11th pick, gave away, I believe, their 5th round pick this year, the 1st round pick of next year, and the 4th round pick of next year too. Or I think I said the 1st round pick of next year. The 2022 1st round and 4th round picks. Essentially, for the Bears case, I think you don't give up much of anything. And shockingly enough, our GM Ryan Pace doesn't give up the entire future to get this, which is a good thing on him. So he's already impressing me there. Then the whole thing was the lead up. Okay, we traded up. Are we going to draft the right guy? Because 4 years ago, I was in the same position, about to graduate high school. And I'm like, okay, we're trading up. We're going to get Deshaun Watson. And we ended up taking the bum Mitchell Trubisky. So I'm like, they have to get it right. Because if they get it wrong, it's going to be even worse than the Andy Dalton stuff. And when they started panning over to Mac Jones and he gave a little smirk or something like that, I'm like, you better not take Mac Jones. I swear, do not take Mac Jones. Because if you do that, you're getting Trubisky 2.0 all over again. And Roger Goodell comes up, and he's speaking about, and funny thing, I Instagram live this entire time. Roger Goodell is doing this entirety fast about the CDC guidelines. At this point, I'm like, I don't care. I understand what's going on. Give me the pick. Then you have this other guy who's a supporter in Chicago or something like that, expand even more. And then he finally reveals the pick. And the moment he said, or the moment where I felt like the Bears got Justin Fields is when they pan over to Justin Fields' house. Couches were all empty. And the moment you saw his family walk back, it looked like he just got off the phone. And I'm like, they freaking did it. They just did it. And the dude's like, my Chicago Bears take Justin Fields with the 11th overall pick. And after that, I'll go more into depth about how I felt about this whole thing and the Bears thing. But for obviously the majority of NFL fans who don't understand what I went through, I said it earlier, minutes ago. 4 years ago, I was in the same position. I'm about to graduate college right now for my bachelor's. 4 years ago, I'm about to graduate high school. I end up getting Mitchell Trubisky when I thought I was going to get Deshaun Watson. Tried to talk myself into it as best as I could, but I'm like, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. And 4 years later, I found out that it never worked and never did work to begin with. It was a complete bust. I say it's the worst pick in Bears history. And the fact that I got here, at one point, I was not willing to put on a Bears jersey ever again till the Bears got rid of Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy. Now I can wholeheartedly say, until I get myself up a sign me up. Let's go. I'm wearing this Bears jersey every Sunday again until I get my money. I'm gonna get my Justin Fields #1 jersey, and I'm gonna be donning that because you don't understand. If this works out for the Bears in the long run, so many things about quarterback hell, quarterback purgatory, anything that has anything to do with quarterback disadvantages is going to be silenced. And the crazy thing is, finally, and I know I'm getting ahead of myself, the Packers might be losing their all-time quarterback for what I hope is a bust of Jordan Love, and the Bears might be getting potentially the quarterback that could run the NFC North for the next few decades. And the fact that Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy, I thought this was more a Matt Nagy move than a Ryan Pace move, because Matt Nagy was at this dude's pro day. He was there talking to him and stuff like that. And it just made sense. I made a video after the Bears signed Andy Dalton saying the only play after they signed that bum Andy Dalton was that they had to trade up in the draft and get Justin Fields. That's the only play in action. And that was the only thing the Bears could have did, because they had chosen Mac Jones. I'm sorry. I don't care what anybody says. Oh, Mac Jones, this and that. He was pretty talented. I don't care. He's true. To me, he's Trubisky 2.0. And the fact that they got a guy who's going to be a leader from the jump, who already is going to come in there with a direct passion to be like, I'm not only going to show the Bear fans what I have. And he said in his interview, he said, like, I know what the Bear fans have been through, and I'm going to try to be that quarterback to help them get out of this hellhole. And the fact that Ryan Pace had the balls to do this, and I'm shocked that for once he finally had an A-plus pick on a quarterback, because this man, if for people who don't understand what me and my uncle had to go through as Bear fans, we had to sit through 4 years of hell when it came to Mitchell effing Trubisky. And look at it. Look where he's at now. He's the backup to Josh Allen on Buffalo. He's going to be a career backup, one of the worst picks in NFL history. And I guarantee you, I will never, ever say a word about Mitchell Trubisky. He's dead to me. And obviously, if the Bears messed up this pick, the Bears would have been dead to me. I'm glad the Bears made the pick. And all I'm going to say is, bear down. I'm not going to go too far, but I could have said another word, but bear down is back. Now, again, we don't know what the whole long shot thing is. It's just the pick feels so good where it's like, no, you don't have, as Bear fans, it's like, oh, you don't end up getting, I don't know, a Kyle Orton or a Rex Grossman, a Cade McNown, a Mitchell Trubisky, and try to buy yourself into like, maybe he could be good for us. No, this pick essentially is like, no, he has the experience. He's been at the top of the level. He's taking shots. That last Clemson game was probably his best game of his college career, where he took a shot with crack rings, came back in, and literally trounced the Clemson Tigers. Out freaking shown Trevor Lawrence for one. And I'm just like, they got to take it. And this is the one pick where you look at it, it's like, I have no doubts. I feel like this can work out. Now, one more thing before I turn over to my uncle. Bear fans have to realize, and I'll speak more about this in the Bears' whole draft recap. More than likely, you did a deal with the devil, and what I mean by that is, more than likely, Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy are coming back next year. Because if they're going to play the whole, let's sit Justin Fields for whole season, we're going to be back next year, and they're going to convince the McCaskies or dumb owners, hey, keep us for one more year. We got to let this guy do it. And two, well, actually three, it kind of also breaks the whole stereotypical thing with the Bears, because some fans said, well, the Bears are racist. They won't take a black quarterback. Well, here you go. My dad was shocked that they took him. I was shocked that they took him. I think everybody was shocked that they took him. And then the second thing is, Matt Nagy has no more excuses. No more excuses. You got your guy. And if you can't produce the same results like you did, if you took Trubisky to 2 playoffs, even though I think the second playoff run was a fluke and they just backed into the playoffs, if you took Trubisky to the playoffs, heck, you would have got to the divisional round if not for Cody Parkey's freaking dunk kick. You better at least be contending for playoff spots on a consistent basis. And when I mean that's getting past the first round, at least getting to the divisional round, and maybe a few times the championship game, and hell, maybe at least 1 Super Bowl appearance. No excuses no more for Matt Nagy. You got your guy, coach him up like you need to coach him up, and adjust to his strengths. Do not pull that Trubisky BS and say, conform to my system. Because it's not going to work. And you'll get fired immediately. That's all I'm going to say. So, turn the floor over.
that's like coming, to a concert, and you have to go on after Prince. So I'm gonna be a little bit more calm because I understand I really do understand your excitement for this because I'm just as excited as well too. And I hate to say this, but we got to give a thanks to the freaking Dallas Cowboys for making that trade with the Philadelphia Eagles. That way we were in a position to come up and come get this kid. We all knew that we had to come out of this first round. Forget draft. We had to come out of this first round with either Justin Fields or Trey Lance. That was it for me. One of those two kids, we had to come out of the first round with one of those two kids. Mac Jones, roll tide. He is not our kind of QB.
Mm-hmm.
The one that we needed to have was either Lance or Fields, preferably Fields, and we got him. Now the question is, can they do what's necessary to put together the right play calls to win games, and not to put together play calls just to prove how smart you think you are? And to me, that's where the dichotomy comes with Matt Nagy. Ryan Pace, on the other hand, I'm sorry, but we have got to. Ryan Pace is a different story.
Yeah, he's gotten too many, chances. This is plus chance.
It's one thing to miss on one or two and things like that, but when your job is on the line and then all of a sudden you see that you're going to get it together, you're in survival mode. And when people do what's necessary in survival mode, the problem with all of that is when he's going to get renegotiated, and I feel you. He is going to get a new contract based on that pick alone. And my fear is that they're not going to put the right type of weapons around this kid, and they're just going to waste in purgatory, just like they did Watson. So I'm hoping that they do just the opposite. They see what the fans want. They see the reasons why the fans are coming to that building and have been coming to that building religiously since well before you and I were born. They have to make sure that they're doing the best thing they can for that franchise, because these people come out every Sunday, pay their hard-earned money, and the least you guys can do is put together a product on the field to justify the faith that the fans have in their football team. And I guarantee you they will keep coming, and you will see the product of your actions. But the problem has always been the fans come anyway, and guys like Pace just like, well, let's just put out Mike Glennon and they'll still fill up the stadium. It's garbage. But I'm really glad to see that they did take this step and get this kid, because this kid is going to be nice for us. Matt Nagy has got to be able, just like you said before, the ball is in his court. He got his guy. He saw him at the pro day. He talked to him at the pro day. I'm pretty sure he told Pace, that's the guy I want. And let's go get him. Now you got him. Now coach him up.
For Nagy, it's kind of like college coaching your recruit. Like when you come in, he's getting his quarterback. Now this is his quarterback. This is his guy he wanted. And I think Andy Dalton, them getting him was them preparing to draft either Justin Fields or Trey Lance, because I think that he's going to benefit sitting a year behind Dalton. I really do think that will help him out. I really do think that. And like I said earlier, like Trey Lance might fit better with the 49ers and Mac Jones might fit better with the Patriots, but Justin Fields would have fit better with anyone he got drafted by. He was just a talented guy. Like, so you can't go wrong if you're the Bears. And like I said, I've seen Cam go through it all, been upset for 3 years. I've been there like firsthand. And like, I've been a Boston sports fan my whole life, so I haven't even gone through stuff like that. And just seeing him go through that, I was like, I hope I never have to go through it. So I am happy for the Bears. I'm happy for Justin Fields. I think this is a great spot for him, truthfully. I really do. Nagy needs a running type of quarterback. Like, this is the type of guy, Matt Nagy is not a guy that will succeed with Mac Jones, but I do think Justin Fields is his like that's his guy. Like his guy from day one. Like that's the way he needs a quarterback to play, and like that the exact way he plays.
Yep.
And he like
and on top of that, if you looked at that interview that they had, and I think it was the ABC with all the college game day guys, when they interviewed Justin Fields, you can tell just by looking at Justin Fields, he was ticked. He was ticked. He failed this doggone far. And I love it as a Bears fan because this cat is going to come into camp and he going to ball out. And he's in a Yep. And I will say this, Andy Dalton, don't worry about it because you won't have that seat long. This kid will be our starter by game number 17. It may not happen game 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, but at some point during the season, Matt Nagy is going to be like, I'm tired of you. Get off my football field. Justin, come on, get out there. We're just going to make the mistakes, and we're just going to ride with you.
Yep.
Eventually, they're going to end the season. Justin Fields is going to get some time this year. And I might actually go out on the limb and say Rookie of the Year.
I think if they're going to do the thing with the Dolphins did last year, he's going to be guaranteed. He's probably going to be starting by week 10 because I feel like that's just enough weeks to know.
Correct.
Whatever Denny's playbook menu Matt Nagy's got on his sleeve. Yeah, correct. And he's got
Matt Nagy's ego is not going to allow him to fail because again, that's my biggest problem with Matt Nagy is that he coaches games just to show people how smart he is, not necessarily to win football games. And and I keep going back to that New Orleans game that when Teddy Bridgewater beat us, 61 plays, he threw the ball 54 times with Mitch Trubisky. Ran the ball 7 times. 2 times were runs in the second half, and they were by wide receivers. I'm sorry, that was just no. And,
you can ask him for. Sorry, keep going. Sorry.
No, I was just saying, and that was my lowest moment as a Bears fan that season. I've had some low ones over the years. I can go on and on back to when the Bears in the late 70s and early 80s. So I can tell you that this pick was monumental for the Bears franchise. If this guy pans out, we won't have to worry about this position for the next 10 years.
Yeah, and he'll definitely be the next great quarterback since Sid Luckman.
Like it's like Cameron said, Nagy just needs to call the plays that help out Justin Fields, not help out Nagy's confidence in his mind. Just help the kid out. He's a young kid. You can have this for the next 15 years, and then you don't ever need to worry about it. Like,
correct.
And like I said, the Bears could literally go from probably one of the worst teams the last few years to literally running the division of the NFC North for years to come.
And then on top of that, with the contract structure the way it is in the NFL, we got 5 years.
Yeah, quarterbacks and rookie deals are the best.
Yeah, you got 5 years. 5 years to put together a football team so then that way we can win with this kid. 5 years.
They were saying today that's the first time the Bears feel better about their quarterback situation than the Packers.
Correct. Because right now, Kansas City is starting to feel that burn because when they gave Mahomes all that money, it started to take away from other positions.
Yep.
All these weapons that you see Mahomes with right now, they're going to slowly start going away because that $44 million they give Mahomes would have been money spent somewhere else. So we have 5 years with Justin Fields to get it right. And the Bears has got some salary cap issues, but as of right now, they don't have to worry about the position of quarterback for that period of time. We can put together a really good football team if they want to win. And I do believe they do. Hopefully, these 2 guys, Pace and Nagy, they get it together and they get their foot stuck out of their behinds and they actually start doing what's best for the team, the fans, and the city. And I think we'll be fine. Go Bears.
And as I'm ending, to say that when we got Andy Dalton, the whole city collectively was like, no, we can't support this. We can't. Like when I said the whole city of Chicago, there was not one Chicago Bear fan I saw on Twitter, the radio calls that said, you know what, Andy Dalton's not bad. No, they all collectively said, we're done. We're done with this product. unless you give us something we care, we're not going to care. And I literally felt like there were going to be fans in Soldier Field. I literally felt like that's going to be an away home stadium for the teams, because why would I pay however outrageous the tickets are at Soldier Field? I still think they're overpriced as hell to go there, especially in this pandemic we're currently in.
Yeah.
Things are getting better, but I would not pay a ticket to see Andy Dalton starting. I still won't. I would not go to Chicago to freaking watch an Andy Dalton game. I'd rather save my money up and go wait till Justin Fields play. So, and to say that after we freaking got Justin Fields, the whole city collectively came together and essentially was like, you know what? Ryan Pace is still crap. Matt Nagy is still crap. We'll take the pick. That's at the end of the day, we got the guy. And hopefully, like we said, I'm more confident that Justin Fields will pan out. Definitely, they're going to have to give him the requisite parts to do it. Definitely now for the Bears, they're going to have to maybe look into getting another wide receiver, because I don't know what the hell the Anthony Miller situation is going to be. But again, they recently got Marquise. They recently got Marquise Goodwin, which I remember. I was like, they got Allen Robinson back on the franchise tag. So, that makes him happy. So there's a chance he might resign, actually, instead of when it looked bleak, he wouldn't resign. You're getting Tariq Cohen back from injury. David Montgomery, Cole Kmet, Darnell Mooney. My God, he'll actually be able to run deep, and someone will throw him an actual accurate deep ball, because Justin Fields is one of the best quarterbacks throwing the ball deep. So
one more thing, real quick, David. When David Montgomery got drafted, I told Cameron he is a really good running back, and if you have a run game, the quarterback, the confidence level for a quarterback it skyrockets. So, and David Montgomery can be a big player for the Bears, and I think that was so.
And then on top of that, they got a nice balance between Montgomery and Cohen, whereas Montgomery is really good in between the tackles, can move the chains, 3 yards here, 4 yards there, 5 yards there, whereas Tariq Cohen is that guy that's just a bam, give him the ball, and next thing you know, he's 25 yards up the field. So he has that nice balance of what I think they called it some time ago with the I forgot the football team, thunder and lightning, so to speak. So
it's kind of like by committee type of thing, those two.
Yeah. So I think, but again, it still falls on the person that's going to be calling the plays to make sure that everything needs to go. And my nephew knows that football team, that I was not a fan of two things on that football team, and one of them is gone. Thank God. Kyle Fuller. I did not like him at all. He knows it. I couldn't stand Kyle Fuller, and now we got Matt Nagy. Kyle Fuller. Those were the two things I can tell you as a Bears fan I was livid about. I hated the fact I would see Kyle Fuller on 31. He is 10 yards off the line of scrimmage in man coverage. I'm like, this dude, what is he doing? Against Green Bay, and I know I'm venting now. See, you got me going with Kyle Fuller. Ooh, this in the game against Green Bay. How many times did you see Kyle Fuller lining up against Devontae Adams? Did you see it, Cam? Did you see it? How many times? I didn't see it not one time. Every time Devontae came left, there was Kyle Fuller on the right. Every time he came left, there's Kyle Fuller on the left. They had linebackers guarding Devontae Adams. Linebackers. And this guy who makes $13 million a year, he looked like he was running from Devontae Adams. I'm so glad he gone. Lord have mercy. I'm so glad he gone. Oh, yeah. Denver, thank you.
Yeah.
Y'all got a good one. Have fun with them.
Yeah. But as I'm ending, the Bears definitely, I think the next thing for the Bears case, I think the next thing is fixing that offensive line, in my opinion.
Right tackle.
Get that freaking one dude, Charles Leno, out of the freaking rotation.
Keep O-line class, so you guys have opportunities.
So that's the next thing I feel like the Bears are going to focus on. Even though Justin Fields is a mobile quarterback, Trubisky, although I did not like him, he was a mobile quarterback, and still most pressures got him. So obviously they're gonna have to shore up that offensive line. Now their offensive line did come around near the tail end. You got James Daniels coming back from injury. I really only think they just need to shore up their tackle positions, and starting with Charles Leno getting the hell out of there. But again, it's a
Right
reward
tackle.
pick that
They
the
gotta get
Bears.
the right tackle.
Yeah, it's a reward pick that the Bears have to make, but at the same time, like I said, Justin Fields is also going to have to take the initiative of making sure he makes the smart decisions on and off the field to be the Bears' future quarterback. But in the long run, I feel like he can do it. I really do feel like he can do it. He's been at the highest level, and he knows what it takes to win. So I think we can totally take out the whole Ohio State quarterback type of bias out of there because he's been in competitions all his life. So definitely can't wait to see where this pans out. Again, me and my uncle will talk more about the Bears picks and the Justin Fields pick in depth when we make our video in the coming week or the coming days. So yeah, so I guess you got a little sneak peek to what we're going to be getting.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we'll get to the other teams. I know we spent like the last 10 minutes talking Bears, but
10 minutes.
yeah. No,
That was
13. I said 13.
Oh, really?
Yeah, around
Yeah.
that time.
It felt like 30.
Anyways, we're here with the 12th pick, and we get the Cowboys pick. And the Cowboys, okay, definitely need to shore up their defense because they don't need offensive talent because they have an offense. Dak's coming back from injury. They have the legit one of the best wide receiving core out there in the league. Maybe you could say they can shore up their offensive line because their offensive line is getting older and it's starting to break down. But still, the one thing we saw last year is, and even in previous years, is Dallas Cowboys have a pretty good team on paper, but the only problem is their defense is trash. And it's not that good. They can't get stopped when they need it. And the Cowboys selected linebacker, D-line. They can put him wherever they want. And that's Michael Parsons out of Penn State. And I think this is a great pick on the Cowboys. It gives them a versatile linebacking / D-line rush edger pick where they even said, I think during the drafting, he could cover tight ends too, if need be. It's definitely going to help in the linebacking core because, one, Vander Esch always is now, I guess, the new Sean Lee because he gets hurt on a consistent basis. Jalen Smith isn't Jalen Smith back of old after the injury happened. And I think this assures up their front seven, most definitely, especially after the departure of Randy Gregory. Or the one guy, not Greg Hardy. I think it was Randy Gregory.
Yeah.
After leaving for Seattle. And it could help DeMarcus Lawrence get more added pressure on the line. And I think really the only other thing Dallas needs to do is shore up that secondary, which I forgot to mention the Bears need to do as well, shore up that secondary because both teams get carved in the secondary. So I like the pick. I think it's an A+ pick for the Cowboys.
I like the pick too. And that's where they were going after Sean Lee announced his retirement. But yeah, he was an oft-injured linebacker, but when he did get into the game, he was highly effective for him. But Micah Parsons from Penn State, again, tape don't lie. And, his tape was pretty good. And the guy is one of these like really fast linebackers to get sideline to sideline pretty quickly, go ahead and make tackles. He's very physical. He can do a lot of things. He can play a lot of positions. And I thought it was a really good pick for the Cowboys as well, too. And I'm pretty sure they're going to announce their secondary problems in the later round. So, yeah, 100% like the pick for the Cowboys.
Yeah, I agree. I like the pick. He flies around the field. He likes to hit. He's, like you guys said, versatile. Play all over the field. Can come off the edge. He can play coverage and he can guard a tight end and man. And like you said, that the Cowboys need to address a few positions, and this is definitely one of them. After Sean Lee retired, and I like the pick.
Yeah. The only question is, will the Cowboys show up when the Cowboys need to show up? Because
that's December. When December comes through the door, the Cowboys go out the back door. So.
Yeah, I was saying last night they usually have January's off, so that's a positive for being for the Cowboys.
Yeah. They usually on vacation by December.
Yeah, so they have January's off, so that's including the contract.
Hope we got some Cowboys fans that's watching this, so they can hear us.
Anyways, next up is the 13th pick. Honestly, it was the Chargers pick, probably the team I would have probably been focused on my mind the most if the Bears had failed up their pick. And the Chargers, obviously, as you look at from their case, they have a pretty star-studded offense. They got the wideouts. Defense, pretty solid, although they did lose Casey Hayward because for some reason he didn't fit within their scheme, but okay. So they let him go, and they got a new quarterback. So, and a very promising one at best. So the pick for Rashawn Slater Jr., the offensive lineman out of Northwestern, who fell pretty, like, I guess you could say this was probably around the time where he would probably get drafted, but he did fall. I like this pick a lot. It shores up their offensive line and keeps Justin Herbert up front because you got to protect your franchise quarterback because you hit a diamond in the rough with Justin Herbert. And really, the only thing about the Chargers for me is that's a great pick. The only other thing for the Chargers, the Los Angeles Chargers, is that they got to stay healthy. And that's been the one consistent problem over the many years, even since they were in San Diego. They can never stay healthy. They have these Super Bowl contending teams, these playoff contending teams. They just got to stay healthy. They literally, if they wanted to, they're probably not, but they could beat the Chiefs and maybe potentially win their division every now and then. They just got to stay healthy. And hopefully for Rashawn Slater, he's one of the picks that works out for them, and he's a guy that stays consistently healthy for them and which will only make Justin Herbert healthy in his own ways too.
I think the Chargers is in a position to go ahead and take control of that division. I think I mentioned earlier also in this while we were talking that I think the Chiefs salary cap woes due to Mahomes' contract is eventually going to get them. And the Chargers are still on that 5-year window with Justin Herbert to go ahead and take control of that division. And I think they're on the way up. So I look for them to make some strides. I don't necessarily think that they'll win the division, but I think they're going to make some strides this year because, again, you have to protect your quarterback. And this kid has already shown, Justin Herbert, this kid has already shown he's a real deal. So great pick because just you got to do it. Great pick. And I'm pretty sure that they'll probably look to the later rounds to replace the impact of Hayward, who had left. So, but all in all, great pick. Chargers is actually on the upslide.
Yeah, Chargers are. Sox shot in Tyrod Taylor last year, but that worked out for the Chargers. Crazy. I don't think anyone thought Justin Herbert was going to be this good, but he is really good. And I think the pick to, again, you got to keep your quarterback upright, especially we're in the 5-year window, like you said. The Chiefs' salary cap's catching up to them. And so the Chiefs could be on, the down and, not even thinking about it, really. And the Chargers are definitely on the uprise. And keep your quarterback upright. And like Cameron said, he fell. And I think it's a good pick.
Yep. So the next up pick is the Minnesota Vikings. Now, Minnesota Vikings ended up actually trading back to the Jets. I don't know what they traded the Jets to trade back, or they just traded up to get their next pick. But I think for that case, I guess the Vikings saw what they looked at, what was available, and they're like, we'll just trade back and get something else and stuff like that. And maybe because they ended up taking an offensive tackle, they were probably looking to see if they were going to get Rashawn Slater, but obviously the Chargers selected him, so they probably just said, we're just going to trade back and see if there's anything other available. And they traded to the Jets, which the Jets ended up drafting Elijah Verta Tucker, the guard tackle of essentially offensive lineman out of USC. And obviously it's going to help out, obviously, Zach Wilson stay protected. Obviously a smart move. So obviously you can see they're building their offensive line and getting ready. Again, I still believe for the Jets that they still got to get some requisite, wideouts, some position players to give Zach Wilson the necessary parts, but it's also good to even start on that offensive line. I don't know how the Jets offensive line looks, or I don't know how good it is, but it's a nice solid pickup for them. I do know that their left side blocking wise is probably one of the best in the league. So Zach Wilson won't have to be afraid of really getting hit from his backside, which will be good for his longevity.
Well, just like we had said before, I mean, you get a quarterback, your prime directive should be to protect them. And a lot of football, a lot of schemes, especially when you have a pocket passer, is you got to get that penetration right up the middle. Got to get it through the. You got to get that penetration up through the A gaps. So when you get that protection in those areas, you can actually keep your quarterback upright. So if he does need to leave the pocket, you can actually take care of that. So it was a no-brainer for me. Trade up just to get an offensive lineman. It's a typical move, and I wasn't shocked by it. I really wasn't. So the Jets did what any other team would do when they have a really good quarterback prospect, protect them.
Yeah, you see a trend kind of in this draft. They've been trying to protect young quarterbacks a little bit, and I played quarterback in high school a little bit in college with Cameron. Like, if you have a good line, your confidence is so much different. You feel like you can make every throw because you're not worried about something like that. And if you don't have a good line, that's the first thing you have to worry about in protections. And if you have something like this, shoring up a line for a young quarterback like Zach Wilson, who's going to have to learn progression and stuff like that at the NFL level, and it's going to be a lot quicker than BYU was. But like I said, I think he's going to succeed anyways, and I think this pick's only going to help him out.
Yep. So next up is the 15th pick, and obviously this is my boys' pick, and that is the New England Patriots after their down year last year. And the Patriots at the 15th pick essentially get the guy that, fell to them because most of the teams in the draft passed them all up. And that is the Patriots selecting Mac Jones, quarterback out of Alabama. Now, for the Patriots, it makes sense. He was the best available quarterback in the draft for them, so of course it makes sense for them. Now, for me personally, I'm 50-50 with this. I like it. At the same time, I don't like it because, to me, I feel like Mac Jones didn't get the necessary experience because he really had that little tiny bit of his junior year, and then at the tail end, in a shortened season, essentially, played up until then. And I also, too, feel like he really did benefit mostly because he had probably the best college football team in one of the past few decades, where he had everything. He had the defense. He had offensive skill players out of the wazoo in Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, Najee Harris. We can go on. Now, definitely I feel like he's a system quarterback, and the system the Patriots have in place could definitely work. Obviously, Matt's going to expand more on that. But I'm 50-50. This could work. This won't probably end up working. I don't know. We'll have to see in the long run if it's going to be, the successor to Tom Brady, because obviously Cam Newton's there. And the question is, will he flourish with Belichick and his system? I think the Patriots definitely, even though they did add some necessary wideouts like a Hunter Henry and Aguilar, who I call Butterfingers, still needs to get more parts on the offensive side of the ball. They also did shore up their offensive line a bit. They did make some trades for some offensive linemen. But it's kind of, for me, it's just an up in the air thing if this will work, because I don't think Mac Jones has the strongest arm. He's definitely very immobile. And I think one of the ESPN guys mentioned that if under pressure, this guy cannot get out of that pressure. So, the Patriots, better hope that their offensive line is very studded to the point they can hold their own, where they don't have Mac Jones taking unnecessary hits when it's his time to come in. Because if he's not able to get out of the pocket, it's not going to be a good move or not a good look for maybe years down the road.
Yeah. Yeah, I was about to say, you go last for this one, because I know this is your squad, so you can probably embellish a little bit more like we did with the Bears. But I actually did like the pick. He is a pocket passer. And also, he has Cam Newton there as that stopgap, so he can actually have time to learn that system as well too. Now, I will say this: I said early in our broadcast that of the five that I thought Mac Jones was the worst, but at the same time, I wasn't saying that he was a bad quarterback. All I'm saying is he's a really good quarterback, but at the same time, he is a pocket quarterback, and he's not as athletic as those guys. He doesn't run as fast. But at the same time, though, he is a smart quarterback. He is going to learn that system, and he will be able to do the necessary things that Coach Belichick wants him to do. So I'm not really worried about Mac. He came down to the right spot, the right coach at the right time, and Belichick will make sure this guy's ready probably at the end of this football season. And he might get some time this year in the event, like let's just say maybe Cam Newton doesn't make it through. Or the Patriots just aren't as successful and they just want to go ahead and start that plan now. So I like the pick. I really did like the pick. And it was a perfect spot for Mac Jones. And I wish him well.
Yeah, Mac Jones is very smart. He graduated with a 4.0, and that's huge for a quarterback. Yep. And like I was saying earlier, he was my fourth best of the top five. And I think all five quarterbacks are really good. It's just Trey Lance just played at North Dakota State, and Mac Jones played at Alabama. Yeah. And I do think this had a lot, like he did have a lot of great receivers, but he had a 77 completion percentage. That's seriously absurd. That's amazing. And speaking of like Tom Brady's success, you can't think of it that way because you're never going to be able to live up to those expectations. Like Tom Brady, what he did, like those banners, that's something that he did. And like, we got to move on from that. And I think Mac Jones might not have been that good other places, but I think New England was the perfect place for him to succeed. Like granted, Tom Brady can move a little bit in the pocket. And he's Tom Brady. We did win 6 Super Bowls with a immobile quarterback, and I think Cam being there will help. I do think he should sit a year. I do think he needs to sit and learn a little bit. But like you said, he's smart. He's gonna retain a bunch of information and knowledge and like try to soak it all up. And I do think in the future, if we get him some pieces to help, we definitely need to get some more receivers. But I do think our line and defense is good enough right now, and we have the 5-year window right now, like we talked about. I do think we can succeed if we get him some help a little bit. I do think it was a good pick for us. We didn't need to trade any picks for him. We didn't need to trade up or anything. He fell into our lap, and I think it was the right pick.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And Belichick is a great football coach.
Yeah.
So he will make sure that this guy is ready in the event that he plays on any Sunday. So great pick. Belichick will make sure this guy is ready. He's a football lifer. So, I mean, the guy, granted, Tom Brady is the GOAT, but Belichick did assist somewhat greatly in those 6 Super Bowls they won. It wasn't all just Tom Brady.
I am a big believer in Belichick. You ask Cameron, I say Bill Belichick is the greatest coach in the NFL, I think. It's not even so.
No question.
So I guess if there's anything else we're going to say about this, or are we good here?
I'm good. I think it was a good pick. I'm ready to move on with that.
Okay. So the next pick in the draft is the 16th pick, and that is the Arizona Cardinals, who have been, I guess you can say, been working to try to keep up with their NFC West rivals. And they ended up selecting Xavier Collins, linebacker out of Tulsa. I don't know much about him, to be honest, but it gives him another linebacker thing in the rotation because they have a pretty star-studded defense. They obviously took the one Clemson linebacker last year. And it's just, I feel like another improvement on their defense side of the ball to try to get stops against very, potent offenses in their division, like a Seattle, San Francisco, and the Rams, now that they got Matthew Stafford. But I feel like this pick is fine with me. It's just a way to bolster their defense now that they also got like J.J. Watt in free agency and stuff like that.
Yeah. It looked like to me Arizona likes these, especially the linebacker and safety positions. They like these guys who we call tweeners. They can play 2, 3, 4 different positions on the defense. Mm-hmm. Isaiah Simmons was that guy last year, and he did pretty well. They moved him from both linebacker spots. Sometimes they played him in safety and things of that nature. I think they're probably going to do the same thing with Collins. So I honestly thought they were going to go running back here. But the linebacker position, the linebacker that they drafted really didn't shock me at all, considering what they did when they drafted Simmons the year prior. So yeah, they like tweeners. They like to be able to use multifaceted players running their defense. So again, even though they didn't draft running back, I wasn't shocked by the pick.
Yeah, I agree, Mr. Winfrey, that they like the tweeners. They definitely do, and just because the Isaiah Pickens showed, and I didn't watch much Tulsa football, but what's the highlights that they showed when he got drafted? It looks like he's the guy that again flies around the field, makes a lot of plays, can play everywhere. So I think it's a good pick for them. I think the Cardinals are really they're really destined for success. I think Cliff Kingsbury has something going there, and they got AJ Green, like we said. So I think this team this year could be. Russell Wilson, but I mean, I could pick them to win the division. They really are pretty good, I think.
That NFC West is going to be an interesting division because all four of those teams could potentially win it.
Oh, Stafford,
even
on the Rams too. Yeah,
even with Stafford with the Rams. So I mean, the Rams had the #1 defense last year, and the only thing that pulled them back was Jared Goff, as always. Yeah, the NFC West is going to be really interesting this year. So I say let's keep an eye on that because, I mean, granted, 8-8 can win that division.
Or 13-3. You never even know.
Or 13-3. You're right. You're right. But Arizona, I think, is going to be that team that wants to play fast on defense and on offense. So,
yeah, Kingsbury wants that.
Yeah. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, the next pick of the draft.
Hey, oh yeah, about Roll Tide.
Buckeye Nation. Justin Fields, baby. Justin Fields, baby. Don't.
I know.
Hey, I was saying, I'm happy for
you. Don't agree with that pick. Don't agree.
Oh, we all do.
I do agree with that pick.
Oh yeah. Okay, Mac Jones.
We all agree with it.
Okay, Mac Jones.
No, listen.
Man,
I said Justin Fields is a better pick, but I also think that Mac Jones is good for the Patriots. I think he'll succeed. Justin.
Sorry for that quick break on the action. Like I literally paused the recording like mid-theme because it got into this conversation. But anyways, back to what we were talking about. Now, this is definitely one of the picks. I was like, what the F are we doing here? And it seems like the Raiders still are going to be the Raiders. And they take Alex Leatherwood, offensive tackle from Alabama. Now, I'm not going to discredit this guy's play. He seems like he's a really good tackle. But seriously, what the F is the Las Vegas Raiders doing here? Like Mike Mayock, John Gruden? I'm thinking here, the Raiders got to go defense, especially secondary-wise, to shore up their secondary because they get torched on defense when they're usually up late in games and they blow the lead. I'm just thinking, I'm like, why offensive line here? The Raiders are starting to really, I feel like John Gruden's about to lose his job soon in the next couple of years, personally, if you ask me. But it's definitely one of those picks I have completely disagree. Again, I'm not going to say like, hey, offensive line is good. Take offensive line if you want to take one. But I think at this pick, they could have did maybe a better job.
Yeah, I mean, Alex Leatherwood, Roll Tide, but they really could have gotten him in the second round. But I do kind of understand why they were going with offensive linemen. I mean, the Raiders basically they like to win football games at the line of scrimmage, and now that part I do know about John Gruden. He feels that if you're not winning at the line of scrimmage, you're not winning. So you have to be able to have linemen to actually control the line of scrimmage from the offensive side of the football. So I understand him drafting an offensive lineman, But this particular offensive lineman, I think he probably could have gotten in the later rounds, second, maybe third. He could have addressed this a little bit later on. They did have some issues. I thought they were probably going to go with secondary help here, maybe Newsome the second at cornerback, and I think he wound up going a little bit later on to, or maybe another edge rusher.
Yep. I mean, I understand line here because the Raiders did trade Trenton Brown to the Patriots this offseason, and he was a big piece of their line. But like we said, another lineman here, or maybe trade your pick and get some other picks, or maybe secondary. I think even Farley, who went for Virginia Tech, that guy the Steelers got, Stokes. He wasn't a bad, like you said, Newsome the second. There was other picks here I think you could have made or at least traded back. I don't think he was necessarily the right pick here.
Yeah.
At this spot. He's a good player, but I don't think he was good at this spot.
Yeah, they could have got him in the second round.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's the Raiders. We're gonna see what those do.
It is the Raiders, so
hopefully to the Las Vegas Raider fans, they're enjoying life in Las Vegas.
I gotta admit, you really be talking bad about these California teams, man. I hear you on Twitter talking about the Clippers and the Angels, and now it's the Raiders.
I'm fans of the Clippers and the Angels. The only problem with the only problem with the Clippers is I don't like their whole team strategy.
All right, I know we're getting off topic. We're gonna do an NBA video right before the playoffs, so let's just wait for that one, and we'll talk about the Clippers later. But I just had to mention that you hard on them California teams.
I'm not gonna even. The NBA video is a no for me because the Celtics and me, I'll get sick during that video, so I can't be involved in that one. That Celtics and me this year. So you guys have fun with the Clippers because the Celtics are just embarrassing.
Clippers I have expectations for, and then the Angels, they have the best player in baseball, and we can't even get to the playoffs. That's it. And I always criticize those clowns.
Baseball's the whole team, though.
The Clippers ain't winning a thing. The Angels, they got the best player in baseball, and they can't do diddly squat. So we'll wait till the NBA. Talk more about his Clippers. But
who do you like for the NBA? The Bulls?
Yeah, I'm a Bulls fan.
Yeah. Okay.
And I love Steph Curry. And believe it or not, huge Boston fan, man.
All right, I like that. I respect that. I like that.
Celtics, but I agree with you, man. This Celtics team is soft.
So soft. Oh.
Wet toilet paper.
Pathetic.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry to get off topic. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. Now with the 18th pick after that, the Miami Dolphins ended up picking yet again because I think they did a trade in the offseason with the 49ers, I believe, or so. It was some team that they traded with this past offseason to get the 18th pick. And they ended up getting Jalen Phillips, a D-end out of Miami. So essentially he's going back to Miami. Fun fact, he was actually only a few cities away from me in Redlands, California after being drafted. But I think this is a good move for the Dolphins. A good defensive, edge rusher for them, especially the fact that I know Kyle Van Noy left the Dolphins, so that definitely helps them on the defensive side of the ball. And obviously with their head coach, Brian Flores, it's definitely going to help them there. And again, like I said, this kid's already played in the same exact stadium he played in college, so he's got some familiarity with the whole Miami area. And it should be nice for him. So he's got his new home.
I got to admit, again, this is around that time I'm looking. This is where I'm starting to think, where's Najee Harris going to go? And I thought this would have been a perfect place for him. They're starting to, round out their wide receiver core. They got a really good tight end. They got, I'll say so far, Tua has been a good quarterback. I would have thought running back here. But Brian Flores is a defensive-minded coach, so edge rusher does make sense because, again, you got to control the line of scrimmage. So I understand the pick. I was just at this particular moment of the draft, I'm wondering who is going to be the team to select Najee Harris. And obviously it wasn't the Dolphins. But all in all, I like what the Dolphins is doing as well too. Someone is eventually going to take control of that AFC East and run with it, and eventually, I think it may be the Dolphins.
If things work out for them too.
Yeah. I as a Patriot fan, I hate to see the pick because I think he is a very good player. And I know he's going to flourish in Brian Flores' system because I know how he works. He's going to love a player like that. And he looks like he's a tough, hard-nosed player, wants to play football and really, go out there and compete. And that's big in the NFL. And every day you got to compete. So I think this is a good pick here for them. I think I don't like when Najee Harris got selected. I don't think Seals was good, but I think this is a good pick for them. But Harris could have been another selection here.
Yeah.
So next up was the 19th pick in the draft, and that was formerly the Redskins, the Washington football team. And at first I thought they were one of the teams that could have traded up to try to get a quarterback, but I'm guessing since most of the best quarterbacks are off the board, they'll probably look to maybe get a quarterback in the later rounds. But they ended up taking Jamin Davis, the linebacker out of Kentucky. From Ron Rivera's standpoint, this makes sense. He was a linebacker, so he's going to take a linebacker, a pretty good defensive player. And I think it's only going to help improve that defense even more than what it already has been improved there. So, yeah, but my only takeaway where I have a little question mark is, again, yeah, they got a defense, but there's only so far you can do with a offense. Like, yes, albeit the offense took the Tampa Bay Buccaneers probably to the limit in that game. But you're going to need more offense to surround yourself, especially you're going to need a quarterback, because I don't think Taylor Heineke or Ryan Fitzpatrick is your long-term answer. And then two, you have a pretty good receiving core there, and I think you could still improve on that too. So I feel like the next thing they got to do is just improve that offense, and they should be a solid team in the NFC East.
Yeah, I thought that I was thinking that Washington would trade down. I mean, the quarterbacks that are currently on the board at this particular point is the kid from Stanford and Kyle Trask out of Florida. So I would have thought they would probably try to trade down a little bit, get an extra pick or two, and then to have more pick to bolster that offense, because that offense is struggling, man. They got some problems. I think Heineke, granted he was a big help for them in the playoffs and he played well, especially with no reps and not very much experience. But yeah, I would have thought they would have addressed that position by trading down. This is a good player though. But yeah, I was expecting them to trade down.
I mean, with the Heineke thing, for the Buccaneers, they had 2 hours to prepare for him. Like this wasn't. They had no film, nothing like that. I think Alex Smith went 6-1 as the starter last year, and I think he's a good quarterback. So I think he had a lot to deal with them succeeding. So I thought they were a team that could have traded up and got a quarterback here. They didn't. Fitzpatrick. You can get 8 wins with him, 6, 9, 10. You don't even know. And in that division, you can win with 6 actually. So it's not that hard to win the division, but I think that this was a good pick for a Ron Rivera team. He's a defensive-minded coach, and he will succeed, but there could have been other options here, or trade options at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, moving on, the next pick is the Giants pick, which was formerly the Chicago Bears pick. So they're trade back to the 20th pick. And essentially the Giants, in a move where I feel like, well, now this just relies on Mr. Daniel Jones. The Giants select Kadarius Toney, from the wide receiver out of Florida, who's obviously a very speedy type of threat. And I'm guessing if they were looking to get Devontae Smith, that's probably why they traded back since the Eagles took him. And they're like, you know what, we can go back and maybe get the next best receiver that's probably on the board. And this move essentially, to me, now that the Giants they have Evan Ingram, they have Saquon Barkley coming back from injury. They have what's his face? Kenny Golladay now.
That was good for them. That was big.
This essentially now thrusts the whole plan of what they want to bring together for the Giants to contend for an NFC East title on Daniel Jones. And they just essentially like, okay, you've had 3 years to understand and work. All right, take us home now. So Kadarius Toney, I feel like he's definitely a much-needed speed threat for the Giants. There were people saying there's issues on his character. We'll see. I can understand why some people, but I feel like at his time in Florida, he was a pretty good dude. But this just makes the offensive firepower for the Giants, again, even more versatile. I'd probably say they're up there with the Cowboys in terms of having a pretty versatile wideout type of tandem, especially with the running back stuff that, honestly, compared to the Cowboys running back situation there, at least Saquon Barkley hasn't hit a complete wall. He's still pretty versatile.
Yeah. Yeah, to me, it was just they couldn't find the wide receiver at 11. So why draft Toney this high? Every team has their draft board. Every team does.
And there was definitely better wide receivers available at that time other than Toney.
That's true. But every team has their own particular draft board. Like for the Bears, I'm pretty sure number 1 on their draft board was Justin Fields. And I'm sure that number 1 on the Giants was Devonta Smith. So if they didn't get Devonta Smith, they were probably going to say, well, okay, who's the next wide receiver on our draft board because we desperately need one. And I'm sure that guy was Toney. So they were like, okay, well, is Toney going to fall to us at number 11? And obviously, I'm just throwing out hypotheticals. No facts are backing any of this up. So let's trade down to a position where we can just get Toney. So that's what I see here. This is one of the guys that they had on their draft board, and they just traded down and eventually got him. But the guy they truly wanted was not available. So get out of number 11. Save a little cash and get the guy, get your second best wide receiver on your draft board. The guy is fast. I'm not going to throw out any silly comparisons like they were doing on TV to guys like Tyreek Hill. I don't see that out of him, but I do see a guy that they can do a lot with on special teams, get him out in space, just like similar to what Miami, I think, will do with Jalen Waddle. But yeah, the Giants offense is looking really impressive, provided Barkley comes back 100%.
Yeah, I agree. I think I preference other receivers that were better, but everyone has their own draft board, and they figured at 11 or they weren't going to get who they wanted at 1, so why not trade back, save cash, get another pick or whatever, like you said, and get the guy they wanted originally at number 2 that they were going to have to take at 11 anyways. It was just their draft board, like you said. Basically, I think he can help out, but like Cameron said, it's on Daniel Jones now that they got the pieces around there. I think that if granted they all stay healthy, they can compete in a weekend NFC East, and it's all on Daniel Jones now. Really, he's got to make the right decisions.
Yeah, otherwise he's gonna be gone.
Yep. 5-year window. I keep 5-year window. That's
you're so right on that big.
5-year window, man. If this guy is not the guy we want by year 5, then we'll start all over again.
Yeah.
Teams are going to start steering away from issuing these subpar quarterbacks these huge contracts. So because teams are winning Super Bowls while their quarterback is within that first 5 years. And if that quarterback does not excel to the point whereas they are championship ready by the end or the beginning of that 5th year, then teams are gonna start scrap heaping and starting over again. Quarterbacks earn a lot of money, and that 5th year is really the beginning of it, is when all that money starts to kick in.
Yeah, and the quarterback, the only thing that matters is if you win. That's all that matters to the quarterback. So sometimes you can't control the pieces around you and what happens in games and field goals. And because the quarterback, you only play one side of the ball. But
Yeah.
in the quarterback, it's the toughest job in sports. You got to win, and you're critiqued. If you could throw 400 yards and 5 touchdowns, but if you lose, it's on you.
That's it. Yep.
So, two, the Giants, they did, like I said earlier, when they came to the Bears pick, they did get a haul. So they did get a 5th-round pick from the Bears. And two, if the Daniel Jones thing doesn't work out, who knows? Maybe they might use that extra pick if there's a pretty decent available quarterback there. Maybe they might take that. Or maybe next year, now that they got an extra first pick next year, they could probably use the Bears' first pick they got in the trade. Maybe trade up and get one of the better quarterbacks for next year.
Maybe. But again, Daniel Jones is in his what? This is his 3rd year coming up?
I think
Third year now?
3rd year?
No, this is his 3rd, right? This is his 3rd.
Yeah,
I thought
this is 3rd?
Was this his 2nd? Was he a rookie
last year was his sophomore year, right? Last year, everyone's like,
he's
you're supposed to take your jump your sophomore year or whatever. And last year was that.
He's in his 3rd. So, yeah, this is going to be a crucial year for the Giants. So, because, again, just like we said before, no one's going to want to give a quarterback that outlandish money, especially when that's what happened with Trubisky. Trubisky wanted that big money, and the Bears were like, oh, no, man.
Bears made out well.
No.
Trubisky's not worth that. He's competing with Jake Fromm for a backup spot right now.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure the Bears are like, listen, we're dumb, but we're not that.
I think the Bears, they learned from the Jay Cutler situation because Trubisky right now, he's making like $1 million on the Bills now.
Yeah.
Jay Cutler's lazy.
Yeah, Jay Cutler was something else, wasn't he?
Anyway.
Yeah.
The 21st draft went to the Indianapolis Colts. And the Colts, which I like this pick after trading for Carson Wentz. They already have a solid offensive line, and they have solid wideouts. They have a pretty good offense there for Carson Wentz. Again, it's another situation where Carson Wentz, it's on him now to take the Colts where they need to go that Phillip Rivers peaked out with last year. If Phillip Rivers wasn't so old, they might have probably went further.
Yeah.
But on the defense side of the ball, the Colts took Kwity Paye, the D end out of Michigan. Now, Michigan, I can say whatever I want about Michigan. Listen, they got some pretty good players other than quarterback position. But I'd like this pick by the Colts because it ensures their defense even more. And their defense was already one of the top defenses last year. It's only going to make it better.
Yep.
So they're just adding another solid defensive player right then and there. And again, the Colts are going to be competing in the AFC South for what looks to be trying to take over the division for years to come, based on how the Titans look going forward.
Yeah, I thought to me I'm not going to say they're loaded, but they were a really good defense, and this is another good piece to add to a really good defense. I know Darius Leonard, who's a linebacker with the Colts, he just sitting pretty, just like, oh yeah, I'm loving it. This guy right here is gonna open up so many holes for me.
Filling kill.
Man, and I mean, just look at that guy's tape. I mean, this guy was a freaking monster. So that was a really good pick. I was really impressed with it. And yeah, the Texans are on the downslide. The Jaguars are rebuilding, which just leaves Indianapolis. And who is the other team in that?
Tennessee.
Tennessee. So the Colts can win that division.
Like Cameron said.
Because Tennessee is one-dimensional. I mean, you know, if you can stop the run, you can beat Tennessee. I mean, you know, Ryan Tannehill has proved himself to be nothing but a good play-action quarterback. He's like Steve DeBerg Part 2. So I mean, you know, as long as they're running the ball, they're great. Stop the run. I mean, Tannehill is all right. You know, but man, Indianapolis. Now the key is going to be for Carson Wentz to prove a lot of people wrong. So that's what the Indianapolis Colts season is going to be about.
Yeah, I agree. Carson Wentz is going to be the main reason why. I think kind of Kwity Paye goes into the same situation here where you have a good defense, you got a good offense, but the quarterback situation still the reason why. I mean, I'm a big Philip Rivers guy, and I wish he would have won a Super Bowl somehow. I feel like he always end up somehow coming up short with the Colts, and I don't see necessarily Carson Wentz exceeding what Philip Rivers did necessarily. So I don't know how did the Colts have Justin Houston last year?
I think they did.
Is he gone now? Maybe they're doing this to replace him, but it's going to be on Carson Wentz. They have definitely a chance to win the division. I think the best chance, and he's just got to perform.
Yep. Speaking about the Colts, AFC South rivals, next pick, the 22nd pick, was the Tennessee Titans. And they ended up selecting Caleb Farley, the cornerback out of Virginia Tech. I've heard some people don't like the pick, but I'm fine with it. I think this is just a nice, solid pick for them. Definitely, I think they cut Adoree Jackson, and I don't know and they don't have Malcolm Butler at all either.
No, they heard him too, I think.
So technically, they're freaking outside corners. They're definitely weak at that position. So obviously, they took Caleb Farley. Now, I believe Caleb Farley has some injury issues with his back or something like that. So obviously, they're gonna have to. The Titans are definitely gonna have to pin their hopes that he stays healthy. It's interesting because they could have also taken Asante Samuel Jr., which I think will more than likely be taken in the second round. But we'll see how this goes for the Titans. Obviously, the Titans are a defensive team with Mike Vrabel at the helm. So maybe they'll be able to teach this kid something, and hopefully they'll be able to perform better than Malcolm Butler and Adoree Jackson when they were there. I'm good.
Yeah, I like the pick, actually. I think Farley is probably one of the better man corners in this draft. The injury history is probably what, shot him down to this particular point. But if there was no injury history, this kid would have been a top 10 pick. That being said, again, it really didn't do anything to the Titans offense. A.J. Brown is still, one man show on that offense from the wide receiver core. They didn't really have a great solid tight end. So I think, the Titans is still the Titans. I mean, run the ball behind Derrick Henry and, hope he runs for 250 yards in December per game, So the Titans, it was okay. Yeah. To me, it wasn't one of them picks where, as you say, yeah, that's the one that's going to put them over the top.
Yeah, I agree that their offense is what's really kind of hurting them. That's kind of a formula to stop them now. They've got film on people now and they kind of realized you just got to put 8 people in the box or whatever. I mean, let Tannehill beat you.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna go corner here, I guess Farley's a pick. I mean, I really like Newsome and Stokes. I got picked after him at D-back. Yeah. So, but I mean, Farley, other than injury, like you guys said, he's solid corner. I like Virginia Tech players. I feel like they play hard, but
especially DB.
I like the pick, I guess, though. But I think they could have maybe done something else or traded back again. But
yeah,
I don't know what was available to them. So
yeah. So the next pick was the 23rd pick, and the Vikings, after trading back, got the 23rd pick, and they ended up taking Christian Parasol, the offensive tackle out of Virginia Tech. I guess in their case, it makes sense because the Vikings offensive line really, honestly, isn't the best. Typically, that's the weakest thing about their team. Honestly, if you ask me as a Bears fan, regardless of them selecting this pick, their offensive line is still going to be weak because they got a weak quarterback at the helm in Kirk Cousins.
That's why they got to beef it up.
Yeah. I feel like either way they could have went offensive line or defensive line because I know for defensive line they traded away half their defensive line. So I'm fine with their pick. Obviously they're going to try to make sure they keep Kirk Cousins up so he doesn't get sacked and he doesn't make bad decisions under pressure. Two, it gives them better chances to get obviously out of their dangerous duo of wideouts out there. So I think this is a good move for the Vikings.
Offensive line, it really helps more Dalvin Cook out than let's just say Kirk Cousins, because their offense, again, just like the Titans, is based on the running game. If Dalvin Cook is not there, they can't play action. So that part of the offense as a threat is no longer there. So you got to be able to run the football. You can't run the football without solid offensive linemen. So that's where I think he applies. And nothing more, nothing less than that. I mean, the whole theory of their offense is run the ball and catch you on situations where we can just play action. And but again, the pick really didn't do anything from where I sat. They'll probably move them up the ladder in the NFC Central or NFC North. I'm sorry, that's what they're calling it now. So it was a solid pick, and I mean, it's Minnesota, man. It's
Yeah, I mean,
they wasn't really a threat in the NFC anyway.
I don't think that this pick necessarily helps. They have Kirk Cousins at quarterback, so until that changes, it's not going to change anything. But I do think it's going to help out Dalvin Cook, and I think that they're a team that you should definitely keep an eye on today to draft a quarterback, maybe for a developmental project like that kid from Stanford, maybe Mills or Kellen Mond or Trask. They definitely need to give a quarterback a chance, because Kirk Cousins is not the answer, no matter if you keep it upright or not. So I do think this had more to do with Dalvin Cook and maybe the future than anything else.
Yep.
It's the same thing like the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions have a pretty solid run game, but their quarterback play isn't the best. So
Yep.
No.
Yep.
Yeah. Now the next pick of the draft after the Vikings was the 24th pick in the draft, and that is the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, I thought they would go a little bit of defense, because I think they did lose Bud Dupree to the Titans. So I thought maybe they might go maybe off a defensive end or something like that. But they ended up going offense, and I understand why they did this, because they let go of James Conner. And they really desperately need a running back, especially with Big Ben. And they ended up taking Najee Harris, the running back out of Bama. Again, this makes sense because you make him essentially predominantly your bell cow running back, which takes the ball out of, if you're getting productive yards, takes the ball out of Ben Roethlisberger's hands, so he doesn't start effing up everything and throwing picks all over the place. I don't know why that guy just doesn't retire. But hey, I think it's a solid pick for them. They really needed a legit number one running back ever since Le'Veon Bell dumped them. I like the pick. It's fine. I think it's a nice pick. It's going to give them a solid running back.
Yeah, I thought that when the Washington football team didn't draft the running back at number 19, this is where Najee Harris was going to fall, because the teams after that, they all had running backs. So it was a smart pick. They need to be able to, I'm talking about Pittsburgh, they need to be able to balance the running game with the passing game. And let's be honest, the Pittsburgh wide receiving corps is quite impressive. So they still have to, the one thing they couldn't do is run the football. So you had teams that were probably dropping back and quarter sets, and almost, I saw one game, I think it was the Ravens, they practically dropped back in the prevent knowing that the ball. So they need to get a running back. They need to be able to set the line of scrimmage in their favor, and drafting Najee Harris will allow them to do that. And I can actually see them in the later rounds addressing some issues on the offensive line as well.
Yeah, I think Najee Harris is a good pick here for the Steelers. They lost James Conner in the AFC North, especially later in the year. You need to run the ball. That's big. And Najee Harris is a type of runner that can succeed in the AFC North. Like you said about Cow, he's going to lower shoulder hit. I'm not trying to critique every quarterback here, but I feel like Big Ben isn't really the answer anymore either. But he definitely he's shown they were 14 or 13 last year at some point, I'm pretty sure. So I mean, he does something right, obviously. So I do think Mike Tomlin's not a bad coach either. I think he's a pretty good coach. I mean, so I think they're going to use Najee Harris. And I think he's going to have a really successful year, and I think he's a name seriously. I know it's a long shot to look at for Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
So the next pick in the draft, the 25th in the draft, which funny enough, I was calling Matt and his boy at the time, and I saw the Jaguars pick because the Jaguars got another pick in the first round. And lo and behold, funny enough, in their last game and at Ohio against Ohio State, you would think, oh, Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne are probably never going to ever play with each other ever again, unless, you know, they come to each other by free agency or something like that. Well, lo and behold, they're back together again. So because the Jaguars took Travis Etienne, running back from Clemson, and when I saw this, I was like, you're joking. More of this Travis Etienne Lawrence plays, you know, action stuff. I like the move the Jaguars did. Now, the Jaguars do have a pretty solid running back. I forgot what his name was, but they do have a pretty solid running back.
Robinson or something, right?
Huh?
Like Robinson or something you're thinking of?
Yeah,
maybe?
Robinson.
Robinson.
Yeah. So I'm guessing, you know, Urban Meyer's going to probably do what he used to always do at Ohio State, have two different running backs at one time. And essentially we all know that Trevor Lawrence and Etienne know each other like a book. Definitely Etienne, you can put him honestly anywhere on the field. You can line him out as a wideout. He can be in the backfield. And the dude just breaks tackles. Like, he is a guy that just is very strong in his like quad areas. Like, he breaks a lot of tackles. And I feel like, just like with the whole Jamar Chase thing, it's a pick that's going to make Trevor Lawrence feel a little bit more comfortable there, of some familiarity on if, you know, say he's lined out, you know, he knows how to pass to. I like this pick. I think it's good for them.
Yeah, I like the pick as well too. You kind of notice that a lot of teams were allowing their quarterbacks to have, you know, skill set players that they're familiar with, for them to be able to do what they necessarily need to do and to learn these offenses. So that seems to be the whole theme in the first round. So Jacksonville draft Etienne really didn't shock me that much. And keep in mind now, a couple of years ago, Etienne was pretty high on a lot of teams' draft boards, and he did kind of fall. But this kid is an electric running back, and I think he's going to do Jacksonville. Hopefully, Urban Meyer uses this kid correctly. So and Urban Meyer doesn't try to bring a college football mentality to an NFL football team.
No.
But yeah, I think that'll probably be his downfall as a coach. But yeah, I like the pick, and I think this kid really will do well, but mostly because him and Lawrence, they have that rapport with each other.
Yeah, I like the pick too. I think a big thing for a rookie is be familiar and comfortable with like your teammates, you know, your coaches, and having a player there with you that in a new city and everything, that definitely helps out, you know. And I think having Robinson and Etienne on the same team will help them out. I think Etienne's more of a third down back, a guy in first, second down you can put in slot, or you can put in the same field, and he's more of he can catch the ball. He's electric, so he's going to make plays, and just matching him back up with Trevor Lawrence, I think, is huge.
Yeah. So the next pick is obviously the the draft hometown team's pick, which I'm just gonna say, when they did the intro to the draft, when friggin' Joe Thomas like, "Here we go, Brownies," I was like, bro, no, like, no one cares. So the 26th pick of the draft the Browns got was Greg Newsome II, the quarterback out of Northwestern, and this makes sense for the Browns' case because obviously, corner-wise, they weren't the best on the outside when it came to guarding some of the best receivers. So this shores up their secondary a bit, and I like this pick. He was one of the best corners out in the college football last year for Northwestern, who had a very high year last year. And I think he's going to be a very physical corner, getting up in these receivers' faces. And I like this pick by Cleveland.
Yeah, I did too, but specifically because now he's on the other side of one of the best corners in the league in Denzel Ward. So now you have those two bookend cornerbacks, whereas you're gonna have to pick your poison which side you want to go to because Newsom can cover, all right, and he'll learn from one of the better cornerbacks in the league in Denzel Ward. So Cleveland is a pretty interesting football team moving forward. So that defense is really starting to look pretty nice. So you AFC North teams, you all don't think it's just a two-man race between Pittsburgh and Baltimore, but Cleveland is going to be in that mix this year because you know these two cats on these they're right in their left corner now. Those guys are solid. Cleveland, again, another one of those teams on the rise. All they got to do is just don't turn the ball over.
Yeah, I was big on Newsom before the draft. I thought he was one of the best corners, if not the best in the draft. And I think it's kind of funny how the next pick, the Ravens at the receiver, they're going to so those two will go back and forth for a little bit now. But I think it was a good pick. Like I said, high on Newsom. That's good for Northwestern. They get 2 first-round picks in the draft. That's awesome. But I think this is cool. The Browns are going to be good. They look pretty good on paper. They really do. So they could be good for some years and good for Cleveland at this point. Good for them.
Yep. And Kevin Stefanski does the same thing he did with Minnesota too. He runs that football. They got 2 really good running backs. He runs that football and pops that play action on you at a moment's notice. But he knows he has to win the line of scrimmage, and they keep doing that, they'll be just fine. I like Cleveland.
It's gonna really also, again, it's one of these other quarterback situations where it's gonna come down to what Baker Mayfield does. If he stinks up the joint, they're more than likely gonna let him go and be back in the whole race of looking for a quarterback. So we're gonna see if last year wasn't a fluke from Baker, or if this year he's legit their franchise guy. Even if he's somewhat just gonna be the play action type of quarterback where we're gonna beat you more with the run than the pass.
Yeah. Isn't Baker Mayfield in that 5-year window too?
Yeah, I think it's his. He was with 4th maybe because he was with Rosen's draft. Was his 4th?
I think
basically after this season, then it comes to that 5th-year option. So that's where he is right now. So yeah, they're gonna be making.
He's gonna do it right.
About Baker moving pretty forward. So I think this is a huge year, especially for Baker, but more so for the Cleveland Browns. Because if he can't make it, then they're gonna be shopping for a quarterback pretty soon.
Yep.
Yeah, he's gonna do the right things on and off the field. Keep his head straight and just
The
do the right.
commercials are good.
Yeah. The next up pick was the Ravens pick, I believe. Am I right on that?
Yep.
Okay. So the 27th pick on the Ravens selected was Rashad Bateman, the wide receiver out of Minnesota. One of the many talented wide receivers in this draft. Makes sense because honestly, the Ravens need wideouts because other than really Marquise Brown, they kind of don't really have anybody else for Lamar Jackson to throw the ball to, which again, we'll see, can Lamar Jackson be able to expand his passing prowess and actually be able to threaten a defense with his arm instead of just his legs too. But I like the pickup. It's good for them. It gives them another nice, speedy, deep threat that they can line up opposite of Marquise Brown. And we'll just see, like I said, if this is one of the moves that will make Lamar Jackson be able to have teams start actually respecting his arm.
Yeah, I think that they have to put some weapons around this kid. This kid, Lamar Jackson, I'm talking about, is another one of them amazing talents that if you don't put any weapons around here, you're wasting this young man's career. And, you know, Bateman is a start. I mean, I would have preferred they would have found a little bit more of an experienced wide receiver. And I was kind of hoping Galladay would have gone to Baltimore. But, you know, a rookie is nice. But, yeah, he needs some more experienced weapons. And hopefully this kid is as good as advertised. But now, will he be as good as, you know, quarterback of Jackson's caliber needs to be? We'll find out. So, you know, we'll see. But at least the offense is heading in a direction, whereas I'm pretty sure Jackson can be comfortable with.
Yeah, I think Lamar Jackson can be a superstar. I think he can win future MVPs and Super Bowls. I am but and people say you can't throw. We can't say that until we get him some weapons. And like this might be a start. This isn't necessarily gonna be this is gonna help put them over the hump. But like I think he can be a superstar if he's handled the right way. And his talent is just like there's no one like it. Like last time we saw someone even close was Michael Vick. Like this kid has extreme talent, and this guy I think is only going to help him out, but I don't think he's the one that's going to make Lamar Jackson at the next level.
Yeah. The Ravens are a question mark of how many things they got to fix on their roster. Like
they
have a lot of things they got to do. But yeah. So next up was the 28th pick, and who was the 28th pick again? Because I didn't put
Peyton Turner.
Peyton Turner for the DN from Houston.
What team did he go to?
The Saints.
The Saints. Okay, so the Saints got Peyton Turner, the DN from Houston. It's only going to help their defensive line that's already pretty star-studded there. You got Cam Jordan and stuff like that. It's going to bolster their defense. They had some the Saints, I feel like it's just a thing just to bolster their defense because they got a pretty solid offense. The question mark really on that offense is going to be the quarterback position.
Yeah.
So, they just got another defensive player that, is going to help them try to combat the explosive offense of Tampa Bay in their division. But again, like I said, the only question mark I have really, since it looks like the Saints are a pretty complete team, is their quarterback position. Whether Taysom Hill starts or Jameis starts, who knows?
Yeah, for me, it's the same thing. Taysom Hill or Jameis Winston. I mean, which one? Sean Payton has been really good at calling plays in the regular season. But the biggest problem that the Saints have when they get to the playoffs is, obviously, man, Drew Brees, he couldn't throw the ball down the field, man. I mean, Tampa Bay all but dared them to, so they bumping and running on the receivers right at the line of scrimmage, and Drew Brees couldn't push the ball down the field. So will Taysom Hill? They obviously got the arm strength to do so, but do they have the knowledge to be able to go through their progressions to find out at which time they can go down the field? So it'll be an interesting dynamic. I still think the Saints is probably a really good football team. They should be better than Atlanta still. I doubt they'll be as good as Tampa Bay. They're definitely going to be better than Carolina. So I think the Saints will still be in line for a playoff spot in the NFC.
Yeah, this pick is like directly correlated to just getting to Tom Brady, because the only way you could even think about stopping him is just getting the rush to Tom Brady. So this is definitely there. And the quarterback situation to me is, I don't believe Taysom Hill is meant to be a starting quarterback. I think the reason he succeeds because he does a multitude of things, and I think that only helps him and the team out. And Jameis, if he can cut down the interceptions and turnovers, obviously, I think he could be a phenomenal quarterback. And maybe Sean Payton can help him resurrect his career. So, again, and like we said multiple times, it's about the quarterback and what we can do, or he can do.
Yeah. Personally, if you ask me, I feel like Jameis should just start going into this year. He's already had experience passing, but if they go Taysom Hill didn't look exactly the best in his little stunt he did when Brees was out.
Yeah, he looked good for the first couple of games, but then again, I say this about the NFL, the one constant that you can always count on in the NFL is that NFL defenses, no matter what you do, they will always catch up. Guys are always in the film room. They're always watching. They're always studying. They find out what you do one year. If you're successful at it one year, NFL defenses are going to do what's necessary to stop you the next year. So it's up to guys like Taysom Hill, Jameis Winston to be able to adjust as the NFL defenses are adjusting with them. And the greats can progress faster than the NFL defenses can catch up to them. Case in point, the greats, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, those guys like that. But, eventually, New Orleans is going to be looking for a quarterback.
Yeah. This isn't a knock on Taysom Hill, but like he has a roster spot because he can do a multitude of things, not because he has a quarterback.
Correct.
He's a roster swap because he can do everything, not because he's a quarterback.
Correct. And Sean Payton has this. He has this reputation of being like a Mad Hatter of quarterback of play calling. So Taysom Hill fits right in with that theory that what he likes to do.
Yeah.
But this always happens in the regular season. When the playoffs roll around for whatever reason, it just don't work out the way it should for the Saints.
Minnesota Miracle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Minnesota Miracle, the pass interference that wasn't a pass interference, and then they go into overtime and just completely blow it. The Saints, for whatever reason, just they're like the Clippers in the NBA. They just cursed.
Yep.
I'm not getting involved in that one.
That's to the Saints, but let's get on to probably one of the most interesting storylines, which is surrounding the 29th pick, which I already know, even though I don't have the team on my notes, and that's the Green Bay Packers. Now, earlier we mentioned about Aaron Rodgers, and before we talk about the Green Bay Packers pick, Aaron Rodgers seems like he wants out, and it seems like he's done with everything Green Bay related. And hopefully, as a Bears fan, hopefully I see that man traded out of the NFC North for good. Because if that man's out of there, I don't have to deal with his reign of terror no more. So Aaron Rodgers, obviously, his beef with the front office, and honestly, I don't care. If Packer fans are listening to this, your front office is just as bad as the Chicago Bears when it comes to managing certain talents. If not for Brett Favre, if not for Aaron Rodgers, you guys be in the same position as the Bears, looking for quarterback over time again. We all know. So obviously the main team that looks like freaking he could go to, there's rumors that he could be traded to the Broncos. I guess it would make sense for the Broncos since they didn't take a quarterback earlier in this draft. So they got to be feeling confident that they might do it. John Elway, he managed to get, Peyton Manning to get to Denver. Maybe somehow he can FanDuel obviously the Packers and trying to get Aaron Rodgers to Denver to make Denver at least a competent team in the AFC West to combat against teams like maybe the Chargers and the Chiefs. So anybody's thoughts on the Aaron Rodgers news?
In that NFC Championship game in which Aaron Rodgers, I believe it was 3rd-and-1. I'm pretty sure you guys will tell me it's different. It was a 3rd down, I'm sure, in which he could have run for the 1st down.
Yeah,
touchdown.
He chose not to. And then on 4th down, they didn't go for it. They decided to kick a field goal. Am I wrong? There's a reason why Matt LaFleur decided to kick a field goal. He knows that Aaron Rodgers ain't that dude. He ain't that dude that's going to sit up here and pull a John Elway and just put his head straight down and go for that too because he wants that Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers ain't that dude. And we saw it. And we've been saying it for years. The reason why Green Bay has not won is because for all of Aaron Rodgers' talent, he's eye candy. That's it. He's going to show you that pretty ball. He's going to make sure he throws it really perfectly. He's going to do the belt thing. He does everything the eyes love. But he has no substance. No substance whatsoever. He is not willing to take that hit for the team. And furthermore, if he really wanted out of Green Bay, he could have did this months ago and negotiated his way out of Green Bay. He gonna do it the day before the draft. Granted, I'm pretty sure he felt it was strategic so he can make his point. But if he truly wanted out of Green Bay, he would have did it months ago. He would have did it right after that game. I want out. But no, he chose to me, Aaron Rodgers is just he's just not that dude.
He, like you said, his talent is amazing and he has a bunch of it, but his character and leadership, I guess you could say, has been in question. I mean, I don't really know the stories, but I feel like that's been in question. But also on fourth down, I mean, I'm not going to give the ball back to Tom Brady. I'm gonna end up going for it. I feel like that's a questionable play call, and as a
Put
quarterback,
Put Jordan Love in or something. I would put Jordan. I mean, put him in and just say, man, we're gonna go 5 wide, and man, whatever you do, get 2 yards.
Jordan, I just feel like them picking Jordan Love last year, the spot they picked, just already fractured or broke a fractured relationship. I should say. I just don't feel. But I just also don't see him being traded, honestly. I don't see it happening. I see him being in the Packers uniform next year. I don't see
him trade him. But
so
at the same time, we all know what karma is because he went through the same thing with Brett Favre.
Yeah, that's what I was bringing up. He knows what it's like and probably what it feels like when you know that someone's right on your tail. So he knows when he's about to push out, I feel like. So I feel like he's going to be pushed out soon. So he's trying to leverage his way into either getting a large contract somewhere or getting Jordan Love pushed out the door.
But in his defense, to me, that's also a sign of piss poor management as well, too. You know?
Yeah, but his character is definitely in question, and him just not even wanting to, not really caring about winning and losing, and just being Aaron Rodgers.
It's bad on all sides altogether, and management should be the ultimate, the ultimate place. Whereas, they try to get heads together and get these heads to cool down and see the bigger picture, so that their players can actually do what's necessary when they're on the football field. And unfortunately, I think management failed in that era, and that's why Aaron is mad. But at the same time, he added to it as well too with his lackluster play and playoff time.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that whole situation. Personally, I guess any team in the NFC North probably wants him gone out of the division. If he's gone, hey, hopefully it works somewhere else, and hopefully he's more appreciated somewhere else. I feel like the Packers could have drafted a quarterback if Aaron Rodgers was showing the necessary downturn, but even though I hate the guy, I'm just going to say, like, still looks at MVP level caliber player, regardless of what we feel about him in the playoffs. Still,
the talent is there. The talent is there. He can still throw the football. He can still run an offense. I just, again, just when the moment comes to a point whereas he needs to be the absolute hero, I don't think he's willing to do anything. He's willing to throw the football, but I don't think he is truly willing to do whatever it takes to win a football game.
And two, if he does end up getting traded, who knows how that makes other players on that offense side of the ball feel, like Devontae Adams. Maybe he might want out soon.
I know it makes the Bears feel really good.
I was going to say, you guys feel good about that probably because Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers out. Bears are in complete rebuild, or Packers are in complete rebuild.
Yeah. And
bye, Aaron.
Speaking of the management, you think, okay, Aaron Rodgers obviously pissed off, and maybe rightfully so. Maybe they're going to take an offensive weapon to give him another talented offensive weapon because there's some pretty star-studded wide receivers still out there in the draft. And they go cornerback. Okay. Eric Stokes, the cornerback out of Georgia.
Now, so basically, 2 years in a row, they show Aaron Rodgers how they truly feel about him.
Yeah, they just slapped him in the face there, basically. That was a slap in the face.
Let that sink in for a second. 2 years in a row, the best quarterback in the league, MVP of the league, and for 2 years in a row, you draft his heir apparent and a cornerback.
Nobody plays special teams.
Yeah, and I guarantee the excuse as well. Kevin King was getting burnt in that playoff game. Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, he was getting smoked. But at the same time, though, I mean, 2 years in a row. You got the.
I would have got Elijah Moore if I was on that receiver from Ole Miss. I don't. This is just. I have nothing to say anymore. That's just. Bad management again.
Yeah, or at least trade down and go get a running back because
something to help out Aaron Rodgers.
Is Aaron Jones coming back?
Yeah, Aaron Jones is coming back.
He's coming
I
back.
don't even think he's that good.
Exactly. I mean, he was the only reason why he played well is because I mean, you in the backfield with Aaron Rodgers, you know.
Yeah, I'd look good.
Yeah. I don't know. I seriously, I talk so bad how the Bears management is. I feel like the Packers management is on the same level as the Bears. They don't know what they're doing up in there.
They just get lucky and get a quarterback.
He'll be gone soon.
They got lucky. I mean, for the last 20 years, they've had
Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers.
Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers.
You want to go back further? They had Bart Starr.
I mean, for the last 20 years, you haven't had to worry about the quarterback position. What team in the league has gone 20 years and have not had to worry about their quarterback position?
Patriots.
Here. It's awesome feeling, trust me.
And
Championships never get old.
What?
Yeah, from 2000 to 2020.
Okay, I'll rephrase. Aside from the Patriots, who are in quarterback purgatory right now, what team has gone this long and has not had to worry about the quarterback position?
No one. They have terrible management.
Maybe the Saints. Maybe.
Okay.
I mean,
they both have done nothing. No, either side has done anything to help each other out.
Yeah. The only thing I can say about this Packers pick that they make, I guess it shores up their secondary. They got Jair Alexander, even though I don't want to admit it, he's one of the best corners in the league. Eric Stokes seems like he's a pretty solid corner. They got the traitor Adrian Amos over there. Don't even get me started. He's a traitor for all I care. And if he wants to come back, to Chicago, I'm not letting him in there. He's just like Julius Peppers.
Yeah, I'm about to say no. Yeah, him and Julius Peppers, yeah, man, they can go to Haiti for all I care.
Same thing. Probably the Anthony Davis too. I wouldn't even let him back in the outskirts of Chicago. I don't care if he's a Chicago kid. You're a Packers fan and you're from Chicago? Oh hell no, no.
Yeah. And then on top of that, he plays for the Lakers. That makes him all just.
Oh, and I, as a Boston fan, I hate the Lakers. So I hate AD.
Get on out of here. You from Chicago? You're a Packers.
How does that work out?
No clue. No clue.
That'd be like me rooting for like the Jets or the Giants. Like what? My rival?
That's like me actually saying, "Hey, I'm an Alabama fan, and I'm a root for Auburn."
Yeah, like that don't make any sense.
Come on, man. I'll get kicked out of the state if I say some stuff like, "Hey, I really like Auburn."
Yeah.
That don't make any sense.
I don't know what's going on in Green Bay. All I know is hell on earth in Wisconsin is going crazy up in Green Bay. And
yep. When we loving it, we're loving it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might not snow. It might just blow
and the Bears are all loving what's going on over there, but
it might not snow up there. That's why it might just blow.
Really think about it. Let's think about the NFC North for a second. I mean, the Lions, the Vikings, the Packers, and with what we did yesterday, which team right now is on the upswing?
The Bears, and they have the best quarterback situation, I feel like, with Aaron Rodgers being disgruntled, honestly, because Kirk Cousins is terrible. Jared Goff, terrible.
Rodgers is gone. Now, granted, Jordan Love could be really good.
I'm not that sold on him either.
We don't know. We don't know. We really don't know.
Yeah, we don't, but
you know, and that's probably why Aaron is mad, because he honestly sees Jordan Love can play. Let's just see. We'll see.
But we'll have to see on that.
As far as today is concerned, the Bears are all headed in one direction. The Lions, Packers, and Vikings are headed in the opposite direction, and I love it.
Yeah, you guys are looking pretty good. I picked you guys today. I picked you guys to win the division today.
I love it. So,
Thanks,
Aaron, sit out. Sit out.
The only
hold out.
The last thing I'm going to say about the Packers is the only way I find Aaron Rodgers, this whole Aaron Rodgers is a very upset, very done with the Packers, is if he's willing to risk money and just sits out the rest of the season until he gets what he wants.
Oh, I think
he's the one that will do that. He's petty like that. I feel like
I do think some of this is about money. I think he wanted I don't know if he wanted an extension, but I think he wanted a renegotiation. But I think this is more about money than being traded or being disgruntled. I think that's why the timing happened with him. announcing he didn't want to come to camp or not play for the Packers, the day before the draft. I think this is more about money. I think he'll be back, and the Packers will probably give in and give him what he wants, throw a couple of dollars his way, and he'll be back.
Anyways, after that pick, we only got 3 more picks to talk about in this long video we've made. But the 30th pick of the draft was the Bills. And the Bills made the pick for Gregory Rousseau, the DN from Miami. Hey, it's only going to improve their defense. Buffalo had one of the best defenses last year. Again, it's similar to the one team I mentioned earlier that's just the Colts. It's only improving that solid defense they have because they have a pretty solid offense with Josh Allen at the helm. And again, their defense, it's tough, gritty. They fight. So
the Buffalo Bills has got Super Bowl aspirations. They're Super Bowl ready. They got to get to the quarterback because I think that was one of their issues in the playoffs last year. They just couldn't get to the QB. They like to play fast. They do a lot of passing, so sometimes they become a little bit too one-dimensional. But I think their vision is to get to the quarterback, and that's where this trade comes in.
Mm-hmm.
The Bills
comes in, and I'm sorry.
No. The Bills are a scary team. I think the addition of Emmanuel Sanders there is huge for them too this year. So they definitely, yes.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And Josh Allen, he has a cannon, but like you said, he does throw it. They might throw it a little too much sometimes, and maybe he does a little too much, and he just needs to do what he needs to do. And as a Patriots fan, this Bill seems scary.
Yeah.
That was a good pick for them. Definitely a good pick.
Yeah.
They are.
Bill's definitely looking like they're going to be trying to run the AFC East as long as they can, especially with what's going on in that division. So the 31st pick was the Ravens yet again after getting the 31st pick from the Chiefs after they traded away, I think it was Orlando Brown Jr. So they ended up taking Penn State outside linebacker Jason Owith. Again, it's adding to their pretty, I would say, solid defense. They've lost some defensive members from that staff this offseason, but it's just going to be another pick that's going to make their defense more solid. And again, adds to this, I guess you can say, mess of things they need to do to rebuild this team, or I guess retool this team.
Yeah, the Ravens are one of those defense first teams, and historically they've been a defense first team, especially since they moved, in the dark of the night from Indianapolis to Baltimore all those years ago. But they've always been defense first, so getting the edge rush and get to the quarterback, that's pretty much a staple of what they like to do. So drive up time of possession and then have a fresh defense so they can get to that quarterback on the other end. So, yeah, this pick makes sense for the Baltimore Ravens. And just wish they were hopefully they get some weapons around Jackson. I'm a believer. Keep on getting on that point. They got to get this guy some weapons. So hopefully they look towards that day 2 and day 3.
Yeah, this is definitely you can see this pick coming. They lost Matthew Judon this year. He was a big edge rusher for them, and this guy I can see playing edge rusher and coming in certain situations and being in certain packages for them. He's a Penn State guy, so he obviously played a good competition, but it only adds to the defense. And like we all said, he just need to add weapons around Jackson and get him some weapons, and I think they can succeed and be one of the powers of the AFC again.
Yep.
So the next and last team who drafted in the first round was the 32nd pick, and that was the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Boo.
And obviously, they went defensive here to essentially just add to their already stacked defense that they have.
Yeah.
And they get Joe Trier out of Washington, the outside linebacker. Don't know if he's going to be like a mainstay player. Definitely feel to me like he could be a rotational edge rusher with them. It's definitely going to be something that they just do with like Devin White and the other edge rusher they have on their team. Definitely is like a mainstay, but what can we already say about this Bucs team that's already like loaded and essentially retained everybody from that championship team? Literally. to
Just re-signed AB.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they they got JPP on one edge, and they also got Shaq Barrett, who I think they re-upped as well. So this is all about having depth on that defensive line, getting I think they write 2, 3, maybe 4 different edge rushers that they can move around, so then that way you don't know where the rush is coming from and things of that nature. They just want to balance out that line, so they, again, when the playoffs roll around, that that they can keep guys like Barrett and JPP fresh. So I can see this guy in nickel and dime situations on third down when they just absolutely have to get to the quarterback. But I don't really, see him as an every down guy. Maybe get him in for 20 to 30 plays, maybe a game. Then again, on defense, I think that's a lot of plays for a kid of this age. So to me, he's just going to be a specialist on third down. Get to the quarterback and probably third and long situations.
Yeah, at this pick you draft just for depth at this point, I feel like. So you just get a best player available or someone that can just give guys who honestly take breathers and come and just play certain packages and go rush the quarterback. And I feel like he fits the Buccaneers well, and he just is going to add to their already stacked defense and stacked team in general. And I can see them making definitely another run at it.
Yeah.
He's going to help that dude win number 8.
Who?
That dude, Captain America.
Number 8?
Number 8, as in 8 Super Bowls. Aren't you keeping up?
Oh, no. Listen, I love Tom Brady. I just don't I want my team to always win, put it that way. I'm a Patriot for life.
See, now we know who's the GOAT.
Listen, I've said Tom Brady is the GOAT, but Bill Belichick is a lot more. Listen, no other coach would have coached the Patriots to a 7-9 record this year.
That's true.
And I think with Tom Brady, we would have maybe had 9 wins only. But this team was just terrible.
That's true. I mean, you can't win without a great quarterback, and obviously Tom is a great quarterback.
Is the best ever. He is. He 100%, no, without a doubt, no question, is the best ever. And I love Tom Brady. He's gave me the greatest childhood of my life.
Yeah, there's only one player in the league right now at this particular moment I would pay to see, and that's Tom Brady.
I've seen him in I love Tom Brady, but what'd you say with me?
Yeah. So other than that, that really concludes the first round. Now, obviously, the second and third rounds are obviously later today. Before we end this video off, I'm guessing what we can say is in the first round, who we could all say who had the best first round draft pick. I would definitely say for me, the best first round draft pick would definitely, and I'm not being biased in this, is definitely the Bears. I feel like it was just the move they had to make. Like, it was the only move. Otherwise, they would have been opposite of what the media is saying about the Bears now. They would have probably been getting laughed at, and then I would have literally called the Bears the new Cleveland Browns if they had.
With everything that was at stake for the Chicago Bears, and we're talking about the careers of Matt Nagy, Ryan Pace, all the negative drama that was going towards them as far as their history with the team. There was a lot riding on this first pick, and they did what was necessary to get the guy that they eventually wanted. So, the Bears for me, now I'm not being biased, they got their guy. Now it's just a matter of time, a matter of, coaching this kid up.
When it comes to impact immediately, I go with Lawrence and then Kyle Pitts. I think they're both going to be great immediately, but I do see with what you said, Ryan, on the Bears, and the situation where it's live or die, it's survival mode each week for them. They need to make this pick, and the fan base deserve this. I really do believe that. And you trade up to get someone who I think should have been a top 3 pick. So,
yep.
Yeah.
So you got a steal there, and that's just. But I do think immediately Trevor Lawrence and Kyle Pitts will make immediate impact.
Yeah. I agree.
I guess the next question would be, who do you think in the first round was a potential loser? I would probably say it was probably the Raiders, in my opinion.
Mine would be the Broncos. I think the Broncos should have got a quarterback. Anyone who didn't draft Justin Fields above there that needed a quarterback, really.
I always gotta say the Broncos had an amazing opportunity to get Justin Fields, and they just didn't.
And they need a quarterback. Like
they didn't do it for whatever reason. And yeah, I got to go with the Broncos. I think the Broncos, they get a flat D. I like Surtain, but you could have got a cornerback in the second round, but you had an opportunity to get a potentially franchise winning quarterback for the next 10 years.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yep.
Doesn't make any sense. You're right.
Unless they're going to get Aaron Rodgers, like we said, unless they have this master plan where they're getting Aaron Rodgers. I mean, still, Justin Fields is going to be there for 15, 20 years. So.
Oh, I could just say the Lions just because they're the Lions.
Oh, yeah, they're going to be bad anyways, though, so it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter who's on their team.
Yeah, that's purgatory. That's NFL purgatory for that if you go there.
Every one of the Lions draft picks should be an offensive lineman because Jared Goff is just horrible.
They need some help.
Man, just they gotta get some help bad.
They gotta worry about Jared Goff's kneecaps not getting taken out.
Yeah.
And then the last question, obviously, is going to be one of the probably biggest questions: is who do we think is the steal of the draft? For me, it's honestly between Trey Lance and as I'm looking through my draft list, I think I'm just going to settle on Trey Lance being a potential steal because, again, it's one of those high risk, high reward. We don't know how it's going to end up because he's essentially a very raw prospect. And if it works out for the 49ers, it might give them 2, 3, maybe 4 Super Bowls.
Steal. I prefer to find a steal a little bit lower in the draft. I'll go with Najee Harris.
Okay.
Najee Harris. I expected him to be drafted a little higher, but he fell right to the Pittsburgh Steelers in a perfect spot. So I honestly think this kid is going to really, really change their favor in the AFC North. So I'll pick Najee Harris as my steal of the draft.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Micah Parsons, the Cowboys. They traded back to get him, so they saved cash and they got an extra pick to go along with it. And I think they were gonna get him anyways at 10 in the first place. So they got their player and traded back in, saved cash and got an extra pick. So I'm gonna go with Micah Parsons.
Good pick.
Yeah, so other than that, that's our first round thoughts of the NFL draft. Again, thank you guys for checking out this video. Obviously, this is a very long one. When I freaking edit this video, we're probably most definitely I'm more than definitely going to see that this video is either 2 hours long or 3 hours long. So I think it's got to be 3 hours.
Here in Germany, it's 11:30 p.m. So.
Oh my gosh, it's only 5:30 here.
Dude, yeah. I have been up since 2 a.m. I got up at 2 a.m. to watch the draft. And
you deserve some sleep.
Got ready for work, went to work, came back, had dinner with the family, and then that's when I texted you and said I'm home. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't find my way to get any sleep. And once we started this, I just got so psyched up that, man, so yeah. I think and then on top of that, rounds 2 and 3 are in probably what, three and a half hours?
It's an hour and a half.
Oh, yep.
I gotta see if the Bears get their right tackle. So I'm gonna go knock out for a little bit.
Yeah, I was saying, get some sleep real quick. Take a quick nap.
Yeah. Now see, that's what us Bears fans are like. We in the trenches with our team.
Yeah.
I've never to experience the trenches much, and I hope I don't have to. But if I am, I might be like you and be up for just because we're crazy here in New England. We love our teams, just like Chicago.
Hopefully, we get that offensive tackle that we're looking for in the second round. But I think I'll get me some sleep and then head on up.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, we all gave our thoughts and stuff like that. Like I said at the start of the video, me and my Uncle Daryl will be back for Bear fans to talk about the Bears' complete draft picks and give our analysis on each of them, go more in depth of what we thought about Justin Fields and stuff like that. But it was definitely a fun video. So again, thank you to Matt and my Uncle Daryl for joining the video and talking.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting
Thank
me.
you very much. It was nice meeting you too.
All right, you too, Matt.
Yes.
So obviously, the thing is, if you're wondering if you guys want more NFL videos of these two, maybe we can maybe before the season start do a predictions video of the season. I think I like that plan. So yeah, but other than that, that's kind of it. So if you guys like the video, leave a like, put in the comment section your thoughts on whatever draft pick you thought was good, bad, a steal, yada, yada, yada. And again, hit the subscribe button to get more NFL content or any other sports content regarding the Bears. And even, like I said, I'm looking to do maybe not just Bears, but also just NFL stuff as well, which will bring on more guests, I guess you can say. So, yeah. And then, again, for anything else on the channel, I freaking upload, like I said, next week, if you guys don't know, if you like gameplays, sadly, I'm doing Resident Evil 8 gameplay on my PlayStation 5, and I'm not looking forward to that. I already did the 2 demos, and that freaked me out, so I'm not ready for that. So expect to hear me get scared. But other than that, I'll see you guys on the next video. So till then, guys, we'll see you guys.
Tell your pops I said roll tide.
Go Pats. All right.
All right, see you
I'll
guys
see
later.
you guys. Get some sleep.
Yeah, I'm gonna try. I really
All
am.
right. See you. All right. I'll see you guys.
Take it easy.